Well, we're going to talk about it during the show anyway.
Oh yeah, but I mean, that's
Is
going to
it
be like our last thing. It's going to be the final thing.
okay? I think we're live now. Let me check
Okay.
Twitch.
Oh yeah. I need to bring up that thing that we used last week. What was that called? Restream chat. There
Restream.
we go. Yeah, I need to bring up Restream here.
What's your Twitch channel name?
Nintendo Dads.
Why is it not popping up for me?
Don't know.
All right. I see myself on YouTube, so that's
Yeah. It says we're on two places, and we've got one person watching on YouTube. Go watch us on Twitch.
And
No, I'm just kidding. Come on, watch us wherever. That's fine.
I'm seeing us on Twitch, so it was like we're good.
Okay, so let me figure out how to do this one more thing, and then we're good. All right, we are in and ready to go. All right. Welcome to episode 250 of the Nintendo Dads. That's right, 5 years of this nonsense that we call a podcast. It is October 17th, 2019, and we are going to party like it's 1999. Joining us tonight, the usual cast of characters, as well as the Nintendo guru, Bobby Pauls. Jesse, do that beautiful thing you do with that wonderful music. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Marty here from Nintendo Dads. It's episode 250. Can you believe it? Woo! 250 episodes of Nintendo goodness straight to your ear holes from the a-holes here. No. I mean, I should.
Wow.
From the terrible. That's no. From the good folks here at Nintendo Dads. It's October 17th, 2019, and man, I am feeling good. I'm super excited for this episode, and super excited for all of your comments and questions we're going to talk about earlier. And that's right, this whole episode we're just going to talk about us because we're the bomb. No, we are not just going to talk about us. We're going to talk about Nintendo as well, because that's why this podcast exists. And joining me tonight for the show, Mr. Jesse Waldak, one of the OG Nintendo dads. What's going on?
And they thought I was weird when we were like just starting out. I was numbering them 001, 002. And then I'm like, oh, I highly doubt we're even going to get to 100 at that. So, but I'm like, nope, this is how I'm going to number them, because if I don't, the sorting is going to be all whacked. And I had foresight.
So can I ask a question? When do you start and switch over to 0251?
Now, if we get to 1,000, we'll just be A99.
We'll be Grandpa Dad.
999 to A00. I don't know. We'll come back in 15 years and answer that question.
Yeah, and so Jesse,
we've been talking, saying Nintendo granddads in 15 years. I'm sure that will be the case.
It's not too far off. Jesse's a real trooper tonight. He had surgery this week, and we appreciate him pushing through and being here with us tonight. Also joining us from Minnesota, it's Nintendo Dad's community manager, Tim All.
Dang it, Marty.
How's it going?
Michigan. Cut it out.
Look, dude, it's dark and cold in both places.
Yes,
they both start with MI.
Do they?
They both have an A in there somewhere.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here, obviously, because of just, I've been a fan since 2016. And in fact, I even have my original autograph sheet that you guys sent me.
That dude looks familiar.
Yeah. So I even have that.
It's not worth anything though, because my signature's not on it.
Yeah, I wanted to send this back out so I can get your signature on it, but.
Well, if you'll do that, I'll like cut out my Mega Man dude, and I'll tape him on there, and I'll write
Right.
something really nice.
Well, I'm just gonna wait till we all get together to go to the next convention. Either PAX West
Yes,
or
there you go.
E3 or something. So I'll
Or
get you all sign it then.
or Nintendo Dad's Con.
There we go.
Dad Con. Yeah. Also joining us this week, special guest of the show, great friend of the show, the Nintendo guru himself, Bobby Pauls, otherwise known as Dream Daddy Bobby. Yeah. We so glad to
No.
have Dream Daddy Bobby
I
here.
still haven't. I
Yeah.
still haven't bought that game. I gotta buy that game and play it. I'm waiting for it to go on sale, and then we'll talk about it. But how you guys doing, man? It's good to be here. It's been a while, and I'm actually took a nice little nap. Justin sent me a message this morning. It was like, take a nap, get ready. So I did. I took my nap, and
So
I
you
should be
see
good.
what's going on, Bobby. They're already in the chat. They're asking where Justin is.
Well, listen, listen. Here's the thing. So a long time ago, I came on this show, and Justin was trying to set me up to do a podcast with him, and I replaced him with Sean Capri. So that's the way. So we just decided that, you know what? Let's get rid of Justin this week. We'll bring Bobby in, and I don't have kids, but we bring me in, and I'm replacing Justin this week.
Oh,
And-
your kids.
The chat on
All your
Exactly.
kids are behind you. And
yeah, all my kids are on
the chat on YouTube is saying you've got a turd on your hat.
No, they probably lost, didn't they? They might have lost. I never played. Whatever,
Yeah.
man. People
So
are just
Justin-
jealous.
Full
People are
disclosure,
just-
I don't. Well, they
Justin's wife.
they kicked the
had
Twins'
an-
rear end in
Yeah, I know.
3 games. That was
Exactly.
rough to
We
watch.
stepped in. We stepped
Justin's wife had an event that ran late, and he had to unfortunately run to pick her up
in. Yeah.
from said event. And he's right around the corner from there, and so he ought to be back soon. He is going to be on the show. But you know what, guys? You know who else is going to be on the show? Is each and every one of you that sent in your comments and your emails and your voicemails and all kinds of other just awesome comments this week across Discord and Twitter and all kinds of other places. And we're so thankful for you. Seriously, you, and surprise, special guest, Zach Erickson's going to be on tonight.
Oh wow.
He says he's on his drive home right now.
Man,
Holy crap, guys.
You ready?
It's the entire crew. And the Dream Daddy. Yeah,
We're
you're
gonna
not
run out of
getting away
room
from
with
that tonight,
faces.
baby. We're gonna hit you with the plunder from down under. Before we do that, let's jump straight into our news. Do it. And of course, our news is brought to us each and every week by who, Tim?
Patreons.
The Patreon. Yeah, my Patreon, baby, is over there. They're sending us the dollars and the cents to make everything go round over here. No, we really, really appreciate you guys making everything possible here at Nintendo Dads, which, how long, Jesse, since you're the historian here, since Justin's not here, how long have we had a Patreon account?
I think we started it around our 1-year anniversary, so it would have been about 4 years-ish when we started it up.
All right, so 4 years now, you guys have kept the lights on over here at Nintendo Dads, and we're super thankful for you. And for as little as $1 a month, you can join into the Discord over there, get into Monthly Mayhem, where you can win cash and prizes that will get you games and all kinds of stuff like that. And pretty soon, our Discord patrons are going to get to vote in an exclusive poll to select a game that I will play during Extra Life, which is coming up November 7th through the 8th. And that's going to happen within the next week. That poll will go up. And of course, there's going to be some pre-selected choices. It's going to be like Enter the Gungeon, Mega Man. No. No, I'm thinking of games I don't like, and you'll have to watch me play them for 2 hours. I don't know. But anyway, November 7th through 8th is going to
Picross
be my
S.
turn. Oh, no, please, God. No. November 7th through 8th, I will be on Discord, I will be on Extra Life streaming. And then that evening, Jesse's going to come in for some Jackbox time with Uncle Jesse. And then we are going to swap over to Justin Masson, and he's going to take the stream another 24 hours. And we, if you listened to the show last week, you know that our goal for Extra Life is just to beat the Megadads. So
Well,
we
that's
don't
not
give
saying
out.
much. You
Yeah, I
wake
mean,
up in the morning and beat the Mega Dads. You're fine. You're good. Don't worry about
Shots fired.
that.
Well,
Oh,
speaking of
Shots
which,
it hurts
Marty,
to laugh, so careful.
No, our goal is somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,200, and all of that is going. I mean, we're going to a couple of different Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and we are super thankful for all the support. And you can even go right now, just go to extra-life.org and search for Nintendo Dads, and you can donate even right now. And we're going to be giving away prizes. I can go ahead and tell you one of those prizes is going to be an individual membership to Nintendo Switch Online for 3 months. And so that's coming up, and we're probably going to give away some games and some other stuff too. And who knows, like one of the prizes might be a random item of nostalgia from Marty's office.
and Marty,
That
too, don't
Luigi
forget.
poster?
It can't. No, the Luigi poster does not go. No.
Don't forget too, we actually do have something going on with the Mega Dads during their time.
That is correct.
The weekend before, right?
Yeah, well,
November
during the
2nd.
actual event for Extra Life, during the second, we're during that I think it was 1 o'clock, and they're going to be announcing it tonight too. Is we're going to actually have a Splatfest against them. It's going to be Mega Dads versus Nintendo Dads Splatfest,
Yep.
where we have our players against their players.
And
to
guess
raise
who
some
the
money.
blue chipper, the number one person on the Nintendo Dads team is right now? You're looking at him. American Dream, baby. We'll go over there. We're
You guys need
gonna
to be recruiting. That's what you need
son
to
of
do.
a plumber.
Oh, we will
Uh,
be. We will be.
Yeah,
That's coming up
gonna,
next.
We're gonna need to recruit because I suck at Splatoon. Speaking of other news, like sucking at Splatoon, let's talk about some news that has come out this week. Not a whole lot going on. We did get some brand new info on Pokemon Sword and Shield. New Gigantamax Pokemon were revealed this week, including some other information about the wild areas. The new Gigantamax Pokemon that they showed off were Pikachu, Charizard, Eevee, Meowth, and Butterfree.
Yeah, we're getting chubby
Guru,
Pikachu back.
Yep, Chonk Pikachu is now back in Pokemon. Guru, we've never had you on to talk about Pokemon. Do you care about this game at all? Are you?
You
What do
know,
you
the
think?
thing is I never grew up playing Pokemon, right? So that I just wasn't my thing. And I'll be honest with you, like as the past, I'd say 3-4 years have hit, I've become more and more interested as we move along. I've never beaten one. However, like as each iteration comes, I push further and further and further. I already pre-ordered the Switch Lite of this, and I plan on getting the game, both games, and playing it and giving it a go, and we'll see. So Pokemon Go was actually what got me into it, because I liked the experience of Pokemon Go, but I felt like I need more story. So that's what drove me in to actually start playing the games. So we'll see.
Gotcha.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Tim. Well, I think we may have touched on this briefly when you've been on. Are you? I know. I mean, like we know Jesse's getting like 400 copies of this game, right? So I think just 2 this time, right?
I think. I know. Well, I'm getting mine for free because I still have a voucher to use. I know I'm buying my youngest daughter one. I'm not sure yet if I'm buying my son's or if he's going to buy his own. I don't. We still have to figure that out. But my oldest says she's not interested in this one. So at most, I just have to buy 2 copies this time.
Gotcha.
So
Tim, are
beats
you
4.
getting?
Like.
You're losing the masses over there, Jesse. There was a time I remember listening, and you were buying everybody in the house copies.
Well, everyone lived at the house at the time. Right now, literally 2 of them have moved out, and the third one is packing her bags.
Oh boy!
As soon as she,
Woo!
as
Watch
soon as she
out.
turns 18, she wants to move out.
You live under my roof, you get a free Pokemon. Once
Something
you
like
move
that.
Out, I'm cutting you off. Tim,
It's going to be a quiet house when she's gone.
You getting Sword and Shield?
Yeah, there's gonna. I still have 2 younger ones that are still here that each want their own version. So Sword and Shield, they'll have it. Used to be my oldest and I would get it, and I would get whatever he didn't get, and I would help him out by playing. But now I don't have to. So I did. The last time I did that was Sun and Moon. So
Gotcha.
I did that with that version. I skipped Ultra, Sun and Moon, and I didn't get Go. I didn't get Let's Go.
Yeah.
But this time around, I'm kind of on the fence of still getting one, probably Shield, because that's the less popular one, it seems like. So
That's the one I'm getting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my son says he wants Shield, which means I'm going to get Sword because I'm going to get whatever he doesn't. So we have
Yeah.
trade fodder between the two
Well,
of us.
thankfully, my son wanted Sword, so we bought in on the double pack from Amazon, and we're, just taking one.
nice.
So yeah, and guys, look, we're now under a month away from Sword and Shield coming out.
And I still haven't played Dragon Quest, which means I'm not going to until probably Christmas. And with Tokyo Mirage Sessions coming in January, am I going to get a chance to play this game?
So
In all reality, because I'm curious about this, Jesse, how much time would you put into a Pokemon game?
I don't see. Normally, I don't go into the post game much. I'll just get to the credits roll, and normally that's it. In Sun and Moon, I did get pretty far into the post game.
Okay.
But they normally land around, still it's like 40 to 50 hours.
That's not bad.
They're-
That's
they're-
not bad.
I don't remember how much Let's Go was kind of a shorter game
Yeah.
yeah.
because it's but they tend to get longer with a little bit more padding and more grinding. But
Yeah.
So also revealed
they
this
also
week
space things out.
is that in the wild area there are going to be what they called abnormally overleveled Pokemon that you're going to be able to run into and fight. I guess to add an extra challenge to the game.
Are you talking about the raids, or is this something else?
No, this is something else.
Okay, because I actually didn't get a chance to see yesterday's event because I was a little preoccupied.
Basically, it would be like just abnormally leveled Pokemon. You're going to run into those like high level, I guess to add some challenge to that. So you're not just running around catching whatever.
As long as they don't require you to like use like a level 80 Weedle to beat a level 80 Weedle, because I didn't want any part of that post game in Let's Go.
Jesse, maybe you can answer this. Damian Perry over on YouTube in the chat asked, will the special gift apply still if you buy off Amazon?
I'm not aware what this special gift is, but usually
there's something like a pre-order bonus for that. And there's also the Meowth. You can get Meowth that you can Gigantamax, and I think that you get him until January.
Yeah,
it's
usually
kind of like the Piranha Plant bonus.
Yeah, usually what Nintendo does is they don't limit it to only pre-orders, but pre-orders and initial run up to a deadline. Like Marty said with January, they did that with with Smash. So I'm sure if you get it by any means within the first few weeks, you'll be eligible to get whatever this is. Again, this is new information to me. I didn't even know about this.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now on the podcast, the number one Pokemon fan in the world, Justin Masson. Welcome to the show, man.
What is going on? What the heck is going on here? I am gone for like 20 minutes, and you replace me with another fat, loud man? Bobby Pauls is here? Like, come on. That is just cutting deep.
And Justin, I'm sorry to tell you, they did that about 3 years ago when you brought me on, baby.
Oh, that's fair. That is fair. What's going on, folks? Bobby's video is frozen, or is he?
I think Bobby's frozen. I think Bobby has entered a hibernation state. When you came back, we just could not. We couldn't handle it. You and him being on the same stream.
Sure.
Hey, we're talking about Pokemon, and I know you have a whole lot of varied opinions on Pokemon. Yeah. Just real quick, did you care about any of the Pokemon news that came out this week?
Yeah, sure didn't. No, sure did not.
And Bobby just fell off.
Should I?
Yeah, he'll be back. But hey, I know something that you did care about that was announced this week, or news that came up this week was.
What's that?
Fortnite blew up.
Yes,
over the
it did.
weekend.
Literally.
And we're not talking about popularity. We're talking about the fact that literally a missile launched from the inside of Fortnite and blew up its world, and everything descended into a black hole for 2 days.
Yes.
It was amazing.
And I'm going to say this, whether you like Fortnite or not, probably one of the coolest in-game events of all time in a video game.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Whether you like or dislike Fortnite, I think what Epic does so well, and I think one of the things that they did here is they just have the ability to suck you back in. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and also, how bold is that for a company to say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to literally turn our game off.
Bold was the term I was going to use too, talking about this.
Approximately 36 hours. Now, you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? That means that Epic is not receiving income, right? They're not making the money, ain't making the dollar bills, y'all, associated with selling emotes, with selling skins, with selling V-Bucks and battle passes. Like, could you literally imagine a company's like, you know what, guys? Just shut it down. Just stop.
Actually, I actually heard it was supposed to go live today, but due to the outrage and crying, they actually rolled it back 2 days.
And that was the interesting part. And I had an opportunity to, I tried to jump in, actually catch the event live a couple minutes beforehand. Servers weren't able to get me in, so I jumped over to Twitch. Of course, you can follow us at twitch.tv/Nintendo Dads. What a good segue! What a great segue! But nonetheless, you can. We jumped in there and I watched, Courage and Tim the Tap Man and all those guys, Dr. Lupo, as they jumped in to watch this final shutdown. Me and Ryland snuggled on the couch, watched on the phone, and it was incredible just to kind of be like, yeah, this all of a sudden just comes to an end and it just stops. Do you mean? And then it's just that black hole dot and then the exit screen, right? And the amount of people who were freaking out saying, like, did they just shut down? Did they just close it? Like, is it done? And I'm going to be honest, I actually think that would have been more of a baller move to say, we're done. Take our ball. We're going home. I would have loved for this blackout to actually be longer than 36 hours, like a good week where people are like, maybe they don't exist. Like, maybe that's it. Of course they were going to come back. Of course they were going to come back. People, give your head. Do you know why they're going to come back? It's simple. Because they like the money.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bills, y'all. Dollar bills.
Did you see the meme where it says where the Simpsons are looking at a TV with a little dot in the middle, and it says Simpsons predicted Fortnite closer 15 years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so let me ask you this: have you jumped in and played since it came back?
I did. I jumped in for 2 or 3 matches, about 3 matches. Yeah. So I was happy enough with that.
What do you, for those who have jumped back in or have played since Chapter 2 began, what do you think so far?
I think it's good. I think that the changes that they made I thought were really beneficial. Kept it fresh. I'm happy with it. Like, there's no complaints. I'm going to be very honest with you. I was sort of like, I don't know if I'm going to jump back into it again. And then they came in hot with it, and I was like, yep, this has got me. Right? I was like, yeah, at the end of season 10, I was playing with my friend Jeff, and that was like, we were having so much fun playing together. As I mentioned before, he came over to my place. We'd have 6-hour Fortnite sessions. It was awesome. But he's a teacher now, or he's a teacher for a while actually, but he's super busy. It's not happening on Sundays. I was like, well, maybe I'm just not gonna. Maybe I'm just not gonna jump into it. And then with this refresh, I was like, I'm in again. Just when I thought I was out, you sucked me back in. So that was a world of Fortnite. I'm happy with it though.
Yeah, I talked with my son about his opinions. I don't know the details again because I don't play, but he said that the Chapter 2 is just every aspect better than the original.
I completely and totally agree with him.
And apparently, with in the reboot, any rankings that existed got wiped out. So you're probably going to be, when you first hop in, you're going to be playing with low level players and or bots. And the first day, he got 5 wins.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit easier when I jumped back in, but I think part of that.
And Roger Space said the same thing because he got a win.
Just getting accustomed to their surroundings.
Right.
Because I love one of the things I really loved about that was they bring you in. There's that opening cinematic, and then you're jumping out of the bus, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just a cinematic. You're playing the game. It puts you right into a match, and you're diving onto the island, and you bring up the map, and it's all question marks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the first task is really find all these places and discover what they are.
Unlock the
And-
zones.
Yeah,
I-
and I love that.
I love the fact that essentially 2 weeks after Apex Legends was like, hey, we got a new character and a new map. What you gonna do? Epic goes, hold my beer while I unplug the battery. And we're just gonna let it sit here. We're gonna watch all of Twitter and social media explode for 36 hours. I'm gonna watch GIFs of children smacking TV screens while losing their mind. And by the way, we're going to just casually plug it back in and watch what happens, right?
Mhm.
And boom, everybody was on it. Do you know what I mean? I don't care if you hate Fortnite. I don't care if you think it's the worst game. This isn't even a game. It's ruining our children, blah, blah, blah.
Like the family from last week?
Yeah, like last week, right? The kahunas on Epic and what they are doing from a storytelling aspect, right? Like, again, we have characters that we know their names of, but there's no huge backstory. It's all through cinematic cuts, and now we know there's this new chapter. And by the way, there was this code that you could decode and decipher. Like, their marketing team is brilliant, and I think what's going to happen, I think in like years from now, Epic and Fortnite will be a college university case study on proper social media, social marketing associated with video games, because they are doing something absolutely right. Bobby, I know that you're a huge Fortnite fan. You and I were having a chat 2 days ago.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah.
And on top of, sorry, I know I'm crazy. On top of the, hey, by the way, hold my beer, Apex, they drop it the same day as Overwatch hits the Switch.
And kill
literally
Overwatch.
5 hours beforehand. Like, oh, you were going to go play Overwatch? Nah, how about you play some more Fortnite? And you're like, oh!
Yeah.
It's
the
hard to
thing is,
divide time.
Here's the thing we got to remember. Fortnite was dead. This game was done. It was everything that anybody ever talked about was PUBG. And then all of a sudden, they take this Fortnite game, which is, basically falling apart. It's not selling well. They implement this Battle Royale mode into it, and it's like done. Like, it just takes over. And I think that's what impresses me the most with all of this, is how here's a company that was a game is falling apart, and they just pivot. And they're like, hey, we're going to do this now. And not only do they do this, they master it. And every single time that a Battle Royale game comes out, or like Apex comes out, and all you heard for a week was, oh, the ping system is amazing, and this and that, and all. And next thing you know, here comes Fortnite. We're going to add pinging. We're going to do all this stuff. And it's like, they just are willing to admit that they're not perfect and make changes to make it and perfect and clean up what they're doing. So I tip my cap to them. And this is something that, like, this will be something that kids will kind of talk about forever. Like, can you believe the time that they shut down Fortnite? Like, it's
going to be
bold,
something
man.
that they remember. And, I love that they did this, and they managed to take a system that they have kind of ruled, which is the Battle Pass, and tweak it in a way that makes it new and compelling and interesting. Days before Call of Duty announces that they're moving away from loot boxes to Battle Pass.
Yeah.
And they're doing Battle Pass the old way.
Yeah.
And now Fortnite's already on to the new next hotness, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to say this, though, that, like, I think that this has done more than just, like, reboot the game. I think it's rebooted the excitement around the game.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's rebooted the popularity of the game. It is, like Justin says, it is a master class in how you take something that, and working with teenagers on a weekly basis, none of them were talking about Fortnite anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It had gotten to a point where it was like, Fortnite, like we didn't talk about it anymore. And now Wednesday night, when I was around them, that's all they wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And it was on the TVs again in our student room. And so that, to me, is a big tell of how successful this experiment, or whatever you want to call it, is.
Yeah.
They blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
I want to say a couple notes, since I know we want to move on to other topics, because now people are going to be like, all they talk about is Fortnite and Pokemon. First thing I want to say here is in our Twitch chat here. Wouldn't you like to know? The statement here is the question is, where were you when JFK was shot and Fortnite shut down? Right, like, and we landed on the moon. Those
I
are
wasn't
moments,
alive.
those are cultural
and
touchstones now, right?
I was eating lunch.
The other thing I would say to Bobby, you were talking a little bit about like the Apex and the ping system. The thing that really impresses me so much about Epic is just how quickly they moved on it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was like, hey, Epic did this ping system. Oh, that's pretty cool. Bang, we're in there. Look, we can implement it. Boom, it's done. And there it is, right? So just the quick mobility of just showing up when they want to show up. Speaking of
Speaking of
showing up
mobility-
whenever they
Yeah.
want to show
I was
up,
gonna say.
Zach Erickson decides to actually show up for once with what I would call might be a scraggly beard if I have ever seen one. Jesse is now panicking because he has to move around panels in our Discord or in our.
Well, apparently Skype only lets me show 4 faces.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
I've benched Marty for now. Sorry, Marty.
It's
Well,
all right.
I'm benching.
Welcome, Mr. Erickson.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Am I coming through okay?
Well, you're a
yeah.
little bit quiet. I'm not going to lie to you, but you're on like
I'm a little quiet?
earbuds.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, we won't get into the technical stuff. I'm good though, man. I'm good.
Sure.
My
Good.
you know, when you have a fourth baby and they take over your podcast room, there's not, you got to be flexible. So
Sure.
I'm literally,
Yeah.
this is like just me lounging now. This is where I'm at. So
Weren't you in
That's
a hammock
great.
last time you were on?
what is all of this ball washing of Fortnite that I'm hearing on the live stream right now?
Well, I mean, we're telling you it's decent, but I think, do you have a counter to that statement?
No, I think it's fine. It's okay. I think it's early to say if this is something like they need to, like it's a good. They nailed the start of chapter 2 seems to be like they nailed that, but this is, there have been other things where you start off strong and then end with a whimper, and there's no innuendo in that whatsoever. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, okay. So let me ask you a question then. Who is Nintendo or Ndad Zacko?
No, that's
we-
me.
Okay.
That's my. Okay, if you ever see that,
I was gonna
on
say
there-
it because that's always in Fortnite every time I go.
that is 100% my son. No, my son. We have one account and we just share that account because now that's the one with all the cool skins on it, and
Yeah.
we're bought in. So that's like
Okay.
the family account.
Okay.
But
I just
yeah,
wanna
he's
make
on
sure.
there all the time. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I think is really cool?
I
is,
don't
and
take
this
any.
is totally.
I don't take any new clients from the hours of 12 to 3. Guys, leave me alone. I'm in my office.
Yeah.
Like here's something I want to point out right here, and this is totally not even related to this topic. Isn't it weird that if Justin grew a beard at this point in our lives, that me, him, and Zach Erickson are basically the same person?
Yeah.
Like, look at our
The
haircuts.
hairstyle.
We've got the glasses.
It is what I would
Yeah.
call mid-30s white guy trying to pretend like they're younger than that, but also, hey, I'm super busy. I don't shave. Like
But
lifestyle look, right?
And
My
also,
life
like,
is so stressful. I don't shave.
and also there's a certain air of authority that comes with having a beard that I find that like people actually believe me more when I say something. It's
So
just like, hey, look at this guy. He's got a beard. He must know what he's talking about.
So genuine side story on this one. I had, for those of you that recognize this, I was late coming to the podcast. I had to go pick up my wife at the NMAX Center, which is a skating rink not too far from us. I pull up in the vehicle, and I can see them, and they're sitting there like looking at me, and they're like looking in at the vehicle, and I'm like, what the hell? Get in the car. So I honk the horn, and so my wife reluctantly comes in, and I guess she had said to her mom, who's standing beside her, "No, that's not Justin. With those glasses, he looks way too old." I was like, wow, thank you so much. I definitely feel like I'm super old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple more of these news items here. Not too much to talk about. So we're getting a brain training game. I don't know if you noticed that in Japan, but now it's been a release date has been released for the EU for Europe, and at this time it is January 3rd, 2020, but we don't have a release date for North America yet, and also. This game in the European Union is getting a stylus along with it.
Did we? I thought North America had a release date.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm wrong.
No,
Um,
do not.
Tim, you look like a man
Have
who's
one at
smart
all.
about Sudoku and brainy stuff. I think out of all of us here, you seem more like that person. Not making broad statements there, but I feel like I am. Tim, how do you feel about this?
I think it's great. I mean, I kind of see where Nintendo is going with this. They've focused on the gamer for so long with the Switch release, and now with the Lite and things that they're focusing on now with the Fit and this, it seems like they're going back to, hey, remember the Wii and how much fun you had with that and the things you did with that? Here, you can do some of those things with that. Or remember how you wanted a DS so you can play the brain game that you liked? Well, guess what? It's coming out for the Switch. So I see where they're going with this, and I liked it. I think it was a lot of fun, and my wife, like I said, she got a Switch Lite. But that's the thing. When I saw the videos, I didn't see anybody using a Switch Lite with the brain training game, which was very interesting to me.
Well, I think the reason is I think during the brain training game, they actually show like the Joy-Con busted off and almost playing like rock, paper, scissors with the IR
Yes.
scanner. So that's pretty salty when you don't have a Joy-Con you can bust
Yeah.
off.
Well,
I bet you didn't think of that when you bought your 4 Switch Lights, Bobby. Huh? Huh? Can't do
Well,
that.
but they
okay.
gotta have. I think they
If there's
gotta
man who
have a
needs brain
mode.
training, Bobby. It's
Yes,
you.
Exactly. That's
gotta
all. I'm
have
gonna have all 4 in front of me playing all at once, and that's the game plan. Listen, this is classic successful Nintendo. You know, whenever they don't do well, they try to flood everything that typically sells well to try to push a console, i.e., the Wii U that didn't do that well. The Wii got everything under the sun, and this is the same thing. The Switch is selling like gangbusters, so they're just like, let's just throw everything on it. So I think those people that want franchises that we don't typically see, now's the time we're going to start to get them, because they're going to run out of people are going to get tired of Mario 60 times. You know, I mean, I know people that give it an 11 out of 10 are going to be happy for more Mario, but you know, most of us in the real world,
Don't you be hating my 11 out of 10.
Shots fired.
That is a
Shots
solid. That will you know, when we hang our like final days as Nintendo dads, that will go on our banner of like 11 out of 10.
It was a
I've got a
wonderful.
Luigi. I swear to God, Bobby, I have a Luigi's Mansion review coming in the next 2 weeks. Do not make me bust out like a 15 out of 10.
It's gonna be an
swear
11
I
out
will
of
do
10.
that to you.
You don't have the courage to do something.
It's going to be an 11. 10.
Yeah.
The
Well,
funny
it's
thing
him.
is
Who
too
does?
is like when the,
Also announced, well,
Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
sorry, you know, this is great. All I was gonna say is that in the annals of history, when they're like, oh, what kind of a show is what kind of people were Nintendo dads? The kind that would give an 11 out of 10. And it's like, enough said.
that's
all.
right. That's right. And that's okay. That's okay. A few weeks ago, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Encore, Sharp FE Encore, whatever it's called, Jesse knows,
Yes.
was announced. It's coming. You know, we now live in a world where this crap is coming to the Switch before Super Mario 3D World. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
It's a good game.
Jesse,
It's a good game.
anyway. They
Jesse and
announced
Bob, you guys
today-
like this game.
It was announced today that this is going to be censored on the Switch. And it's even going to be censored from the Wii U version.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah, a little history on
Jesse,
this.
you're one of the 5 people who played this.
Yes.
So if you'll tell us what's the big deal? Because I've seen a ton of people online raising a stink about this. Why is this a big deal?
I don't think it's a big of a deal. So, the game originally was released in Japan, and the artwork they used in their animated cutscenes sometimes were pretty revealing, as you kind of would expect from Japanese audiences. And then when this game was ported outside of Japan, they made a little more cover up and had, instead of something that looked like, left little to the imagination, they would have like smoke or something hiding things. So I'm not surprised. They didn't re-record the English. They just kept the Japanese soundtrack but did have English subtitles. I'm still hoping they would do this, but it's probably not going to happen. But I still don't know yet. But
What's the rating for that game?
I think it's 10, but I'll double check.
Yeah, I think
That's
so
good.
as well.
So I'm confused. Was the Wii U version
The
censored?
Wii U version was censored compared to the Japanese version, but
Right.
it wasn't. And basically, what the Wii U version was like they cut back on the boob sizes of the girls and stuff.
Just the
and, like,
size, not how revealing it was.
it was
Well,
some.
both.
I mean, some was revealing, but some was size. A lot.
And they changed the ages so everyone's
Yes.
18.
Yes, they did a lot of changes that are like things that Japan allows that we don't here. But yeah, it's
Oh,
it it is.
Oh, it is rated
it
T.
is.
It's rated
for
T?
teen.
Yep.
And was it rated T? Was it rated T in Japan? Or sorry, not in Japan. On the Wii U. Or that's the Wii U
Checking.
version?
I'm
Because I
checking
can see
right
if they're
now.
like trying to change
No,
the rating
it's-
from an M to a T.
No, it's still
maybe-
T. The Wii U's version was a T.
Hmm.
Anyway, so ultimately, the censored version is what will be the worldwide release on the Switch. So
Interesting.
So they
you
even
can't.
censored in Japan.
Yes, the if you
Wow.
if you play it in Japanese on the Switch, you're going to get what is the censored version. So the uncensored version likely won't even be on the cart.
wow.
Well, I mean,
So-
to be fair,
So ultimately, that's
Some
the
of
news
the
item:
things,
is worldwide everyone's getting the same version.
Yeah. Yeah. One last little tidbit here we want to get to before we get into all the episode 250 festivities, and that is it was reported today that Nintendo Switch has now sold over 15 million units in the Nintendo Switch family in North America, as well as 14 games for the Nintendo Switch now being million plus sellers, including 4 titles that are now 6 million plus sellers, which are Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and Smash Brothers Ultimate. You know, last week we talked about the European numbers being over 10 million. So now that puts us at 25 million sold plus just in those parts of the world. We know we're getting, I guess, physical breakdowns here in a couple weeks, quarterly stuff. Where do you think we're going to be as far as sales, and what do you see the trend being going into the holiday?
They are going to move a lot of units, and they're going to sell a lot of make a lot of money.
Especially with the lights, because they've already had a lot of people double dipping, as
Yeah,
Bobby's a
Yeah.
big example.
quadruple. Yeah, quadruple dipping.
Between the lights and a Pokemon game and a Pokemon exclusive light, like just roll up the Scrooge McDuck bank of money up to Nintendo and just ask, how much would you like? Where would you like me to put it, sir?
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna have. A
Then
hard time.
holiday season hasn't even started yet,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's
And you've got
So
people
where,
like
where do you
Bobby
think?
who will buy 4 copies of one thing.
Well, let me ask you this specifically: a total Nintendo Switch system sales worldwide. Where do you think we're going to be?
What, by the end of the full thing, or by the end?
in what they report in this physical breakdown.
I think they're gonna be closer to 45 million, if not 50, by their reporting by the end of this quarter. And
Yeah.
it'll also be interesting to see how they split it out. Will they say OG Switch plus Lite equals 50?
No,
Or are they
No.
just doing
Well-
straight?
they're going to. It's going to, like, they've already said this last week in the briefing for Europe. It said the Nintendo Switch family of
Yeah,
consoles.
that's the same thing they do with the DS. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, they're
the
gonna-
they
3DS.
they may
We'd already
have a
seen that
split out like during the holiday season. They'll tell the investors what the split was between OG and Lite, but in general, when they speak a number, it'll be for all models.
And I think ultimately the light is going to sell like gangbusters in Japan, and here it may not do as well as a full-on dock mode will. So I think it's all depending on the territories where it's going to sell bigger and better. But I agree. I think even PlayStation started to just go, it's the PlayStation 4. They didn't break out numbers of the Pro versus the regular one.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that's going to happen.
And you got to
Well,
believe that sales of this are even going to go, like, that you're going to strap a rocket to it when Pokemon comes out.
yeah.
Here's the thing: when you're doing really, really well, like, and you're beating your own expectations, you're happy to separate it. Do you know what I mean? Because if you don't separate it, you can kind of hide it under jargon, right? The family of systems, as opposed to like, boom, here's 25, mil, here's 20 million. What, right? Like you can do a little bit of strutting then. So it'll be interesting to see how they work out. I think it's great. I think they're doing great sales. More people buying Switches means more potential games developed. Because again, guys, we're in a drought. We are truly in a Nintendo Switch drought of games, and it'd be nice to have something to play for once. Right?
Well,
that would be a change.
And speaking of something to play, the last news item that we want to talk about is the revelation this week of the Analog Pocket, which will be released next year, 2020. It is a Game Boy. This is from the same people who did the Analog NT for the NES, right? And the Analog NT for the SNES. It is basically a Game Boy. It's basically a Game Boy Classic, since Nintendo's not going to make one. Yeah. And the Game Boy Classic plays all Game Boy games, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games, and it's going to include adapters, or you can purchase adapters for it to play Game Gear and Atari Lynx games.
I'm interested if Nintendo is not already just getting the lawyers ready for this.
I don't think they will, because it's no different than a Retron or any of that other stuff. I think that
does it have games built in, or is it only playing cards?
No, you actually
games built in.
Actually put the cartridges in, and
I think got two different answers, so someone's wrong.
No, you don't. It's not some games built in, right? You put the cartridges in.
The cartridges
no games built in.
Yeah,
no games built in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically like your cell phone, but it's got a back panel.
So it's what the Retron was, but a handheld.
Yeah, so basically what it is.
So it's basically it's a GBA,
in the back,
because the GBA does all that, with the exception of the adapters.
Yeah, you put the slot in the back, and then when you turn it around, the top portion of your screen of your phone is actually the gameplay, and then there's a flap kind of on the bottom half where your buttons are and stuff. So it basically turns your phone into a Game Boy to some extent.
Then I also heard there's going to be a dock that lets you actually put this on TV as well.
Yes, an HDMI out dock.
Yeah, I think and it's also got shoulder buttons in the back. I don't know if you've looked at it, but I actually went there right away and signed up for the newsletter and waiting for the pre-orders to happen.
Yeah, and stuff. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is super sleek. It's super awesome. It looks fantastic. And then I saw the price tag. It's $199.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but for
if I still had my Game Boy collection, I might be interested. But I own 3 carts right now. And I just played one of them last month.
A Game Boy Color is like maybe $50, right? Or like go and find yourself like a Game Boy Advance SP. Like those are, it's not that big.
$60 to $70 for the good 101 model.
And one article that I
disagree with you guys. I think it's great for $200 for what you guys get, because you can play all these games on it. I don't have to have all the different.
It's not great. I'm just saying that it's expensive.
Yeah. Here's I guess Tim, here's a question.
Tech in it.
Yeah, Tim, here's a question I would have for you. Like, do you have a bunch of Game Boys and Game Boy Advance games sitting around?
I do have SP. I do have an SP. I have the DS Fat that also played Game Boy Advance games.
Okay.
And I do have a lot of the games that I purchased, and I have stores that I can go to and buy more.
Yeah. Like I love the idea of it, but as a person who has none of that anymore, right? I then would have to get into picking up those games, right? Where if you buy something like, and if we pretend that it exists, like the Nintendo issued Game Boy Classic, right? Those are pre-bundled in. Do you know what I mean?
This is pretty much the extent of my library, because I don't know where any of my old games ended up.
And speaking of library, I wanted to throw this out here that I saw a statistic when this article or the announcement started circulating, that between the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance, there is a library of 2,700 games that you can get to play with the system. So I totally get why they're doing it.
Well,
and I totally get why it's coming out.
As the Switch Mini, though, right? Or the Switch Lite.
It's
same price.
Exact same price.
Yeah,
And this
Which
connects
is,
to the
like,
TV,
that's-
by the way.
and
Yeah.
I'm
So-
kind of on the fence of this, just because just out of the box, outside of any accessories like the other add-ons or the dock, it's a big GPA. So what does it do that a GPA can't do, or is that all it is?
What's the thing called again?
Well,
The analog.
yeah. What's it called?
The analog. I can't even remember now. It's analog something. Analog S.
Yeah,
Analog
I saw-
Pocket. I'm sorry. Analog Pocket.
And it does connect to the TV, Jesse, too. So that's something, obviously,
Well,
if you just had the Game Boy Advance,
I-
you would have to have the,
I think it's
adapters.
pretty safe to say at this point, right, that Nintendo is not doing a Game Boy Classic.
I don't think it's safe to say that.
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
No, I think they wanted to
Why?
take a
They're doing
breather.
it with
Released in September.
Yeah, I think they wanted to take a breather because of everybody else flooding the market with them, and I think they, especially the way the Sony one bombed, I think they just wanted to take a step back and go, let's assess this, let's make sure what we're doing is what we're doing.
PC Engine
I
hasn't
don't-
launched yet, right? Or is that later this year, early next?
Okay, so
What's that?
just to be clear too, the Analog Pocket is $199. They have on their website Analog Dock, which is different. It's a separate SKU, and it says TBA. So that
Yeah, that's an
so
add-on.
that price is not including the dock.
Oh, and it's
Right, so
probably not
that's-
going to. It doesn't include the adapters for the other systems
Right.
games either.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's like important content. I think it's
I mean-
cool, and I think that there's.
Yeah.
It's just like this is not the like it's almost like a different level of like even just looking on their website of like the build quality and like that sort of thing where this is not like the same thing as like an NES Classic or an SNES Classic where it's like I mean sure it looks nice and it represents the old console, but it's not like it's like really anything fancy, right? Like it's just a hunk of
Well, the
plastic with a Raspberry Pi shoved in it or whatever it is.
The analog?
So
No, they build those. a
no,
little bit differently.
the
Oh.
the NES Classic is what I'm saying.
Gotcha. All right.
The classic
Tim,
one.
Tim was about to he's like, listen, you haven't been around long, I will fight you.
No,
Yeah.
I was just making sure.
Yeah, no, like what I'm saying is that the analog actually looks like it's a little bit more of like a high quality tech product.
I think they use the metals to build their previous devices, too.
Yeah.
Like aluminum or
So-
titanium or
And-
whatever.
and
So-
so
Right.
if that's the case, it's-
So I answered my own question. When I asked about the PC Engine Mini or the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, that doesn't come out until March.
Yeah, I think the
Yep.
other part of it is, Nintendo could literally in like 6 months from now drop an email and they're like, hey, out next week, Game Boy Advance Classic. By the way, it's got
I'll buy that
everything in
too.
it.
I'll buy that too.
Do you know what I mean? And just walk away, and they're like, and you just cut that other company off at the knees. Do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, and we've loaded it with 100 of your favorite Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance
I mean,
games, and it's going to sell
if
for
you
100
think
bucks.
about it,
and we're all
right,
gonna
if
be like,
they-
done.
If Nintendo drops a classic, right, and they, let's just say hypothetically, I know they wouldn't do that price point, but if they did drop a classic for $200, the amount of games that they could put in there
Yep.
is ungodly.
Yep.
So if I'm a person that goes, hey, do I buy this adapter without having any Game Boy games for nostalgia's sake, but then I have to go buy all the games on top of it, or do I pay $200 for a Game Boy Classic? I'm buying the Game Boy Classic.
Well, we got to
So-
remember
Yeah,
too
so
that
let-
these devices are the analog ones are built for a different market too. They're not.
Yeah,
meant
yeah,
for-
yeah.
That's what I
It's
was
not
gonna
for
say.
us.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
we're talking about apples and oranges here
Yeah.
because you're the analog NT and the analog pocket. They're obviously for people who already have these systems
Yeah.
and already have these
And
games.
if you've got,
and they
if you
just want to
spend
play
the
them.
money for that collection, then
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
It's
Then
for,
what-
it's for the
if you
physical
spend the money for
collector.
that collection, then what's $200 more on a
Yeah.
system to play them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
But now
It's-
the Game Boy Pocket is for the people who we don't want to be bothered to chase down all the carts
right.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff and deal with all the physical media. Just give us something that plays it, and I would say 50. They're
But I
probably
mean-
going to give us 50 or 60 games on that. Yeah, just throw that out there, and it plays all three. It does Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance.
So
Boom.
Like how
What do you
many
think-
like and I just try to remember my portable handheld market timeline there. Like if we went on those three, Marty, alone, that is 15 years, right? 15 years at least before the DS came out. 15 years of handheld portable Nintendo games library to choose from. Do you know what I mean? Like you're gonna find bangers in there. Well worth it. Right?
Absolutely. But you know why?
What do you,
you know
think
why?
the chances are that, like, instead of that, do you think if part of the reason, and this maybe is too far of a sidebar, and we don't have to follow the rabbit hole if we don't want, but what do you think if the likelihood is that instead of like the NES, SNES Classic line continuing, what if they just end up throwing another app on the eShop of like Game Boy library like they've done with the NES and the SNES, and it's all part of the
And
online
I'm gonna tell you why I was kind of along those lines. They're not gonna put out any other handheld device to bite into the handheld market that they're hitting right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I get that the target for it is collectors. I get that the target for it is nostalgia, but you also you just released a device that is 100% primarily handheld.
Yeah.
Why release another device that's 100% primarily handheld?
And I think you have to. One of the things you have to remember about the classic line, which is really critically important, is where it was in Nintendo's timeline. And this is the important part of it. When the NES Classic was announced, the Nintendo Switch had not yet hit the market at all. Mm-hmm. The Wii U was done, like it was, and they needed to find something to energize their market and something to engage their fans to still have them going, because the Wii U wasn't selling enough, right? Mm-hmm. And we had to say, like, hey, it's kind of dead, but we're still, remember how awesome we are? You should remember us. And so this was in that September time frame, even before they had announced the Switch officially, or the NX officially announced it was in October. We got that house party trailer. That was October. They gave us the NES in September. So there was this kind of the respite between that it allowed for us. Now, after they saw the success of that, they would have already began planning the SNES Classic. By that time, they didn't know the success of the Nintendo Switch, but had already kind of committed to those ideas because they knew that they were generating profit, and they had to kind of barter their risk, right? The Switch may be a failure, but by the way, hey, if we release the SNES Classic in a year from now, we at least know that people are eating them up, right? We saw that off of the eBay sales as well. So I think all of a sudden they're like, oh, really? This thing is like super selling well. Yeah, we don't need to go back to that well. I think if they get in a situation where they have a bombed system, they could go back to that well very easily.
Absolutely.
Before we go into this celebration thing, I want to ask one question because Zach is here. Zachary, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I miss you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I miss you too. It's so great to be here.
It's nice that we're in the same province again.
Yeah, we should go to Timmy's sometime.
We should go to Tim's and talk about the show.
I should go to Tim's and get a double.
Oh, there's a real one. Okay. I thought you were just checking in, man.
I like to do that too.
I was just taking that in. It was good.
It was just
dim the lights. I need to dim the lights some more here.
You, my friend, have always been a ravenous expert on the world of Overwatch, and a person who was like on the mountaintop screaming for it since the Nintendo Switch was announced. And this week, your dreams came true, and I want to check in and see how you're doing with it, and what you think of it.
It's good. So I think for context, I picked Overwatch up on PC when it first came out, and played it for about the first year off and on. I want to say, anyways, and then like kind of dabbled in it after that. But I played it on like the lowest settings that I could get it to on my PC. So I don't have any context for like what it looks like on PS4 or on like a good PC or Xbox or whatever. So I'm like, hey, look, this looks. I feel like I know it doesn't look super amazing, but it looks fine. It looks like it's performing well, like it's running smoothly. The first night the night that it came out, I downloaded it and played it, and like it is a downer that you can't transfer your skins that you've unlocked on other versions onto the Switch. Mm-hmm. And so, but then at the same time, I was initially disappointed, but then I kind of had a moment of, Yeah, but it was. I remember when it first came out that it was fun to unlock loot boxes and to like slowly unlock that stuff. I've told myself I'm not going to spend any money on loot boxes this time, which we'll see how long I hold out on that.
Can we get an over and under for that? Anyone want to place a bet over and under for Zach? How long that lasts?
It's
pretty low.
not
Okay.
going to last that long. Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know.
You're
I'm
the
not
man
gonna
who blacks out at eShops and wakes up with $60 games in your cartridge.
That's true.
Again.
But I think, yeah. So, well, here's the thing: is that back then they actually list the loot box prices in Canadian dollars now, whereas they on the PC version it was all in US dollars, and the dollar was better when I was doing it before. So, so it's like $50 for 50 loot boxes. What the? Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, no, I think it's really good. I think the game it's interesting to come back later and play the game now and sort of see like, oh, they changed this character in this way or whatever. But so far, I feel like, it's the middle of the Halloween event right now, and it's pretty fun. There's some cool new characters that weren't in the game when I played it last. I think like there's a hamster in a giant mech ball.
I
now
love that.
Yeah, I
guy.
was not
He's
prepared
awesome.
for that guy.
Yeah, and I unlocked the Halloween skin for him on like my second loot box, so now he's a giant jack-o'-lantern rolling around, which is amazing.
Because I got Roadhog as Frankenstein.
Yeah.
So
I ended up unlocking the Inferno skin for Junkrat, which is awesome. And so I have always mained Junkrat. The one thing that I'm unsure about is that they've changed how quick play works, and my understanding is they changed this not that long ago, where you now queue as a particular role and you're limited to that role in the game. And I don't know how I feel about that, because every time I'm like, you know what, I just want to freaking play Junkrat, but I don't want to have to wait like 10 minutes to play a match. And so then I end up just going to like, Quick Play Classic, and they just let you pick whatever you want. But yeah, so I don't know. I think overall it's a really good port. I think it's the motion controls is another interesting thing that took a little getting used to, but I feel like it's implemented pretty well. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Like, have you been playing?
Yeah, you know what? And I'm going to be honest with you. I purchased it solely on how much you loved it. For like the years that you talked about it on the show, I was like, you know what? Zach Erickson wouldn't lead us wrong all the time, so he has to be right about something.
No, so I was going to ask how many.
I bet that it was going to be Overwatch, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I was going to ask how many predictions did he lose from that when he predicted Overwatch to come out for the Switch?
Yeah, every single year.
Yeah, totally.
I was playing Paladins for a while, but I think this has definitely filled that gap. I'm really enjoying Overwatch, and I love anytime you can go in and do like an event, like a Halloween event. Rocket League's got one going on right now, right? This is great.
I love Halloween. Halloween's great, and I think that there's definitely room to be, to have a certain level of like cynicism around the loot box thing and all these skins. But then I go in and I just like gawk at the art design of these skins that are in there, and I'm just like, you know what? Freaking like take my money. I don't even care. I just want to play as like like all of these skins are just so great, and so they add so much to it that there's so much great creative talent over there at Blizzard that is going into this stuff that it's so fun. So I am looking forward to having this be my new addiction for a while. So
nice, excellent. Bobby, did your lights just change colors?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, so that's okay.
It's really hard to have Overwatch and Fortnite drop in the same week that The Witcher comes out. That there's all this, like, there's a ton of games out.
Yeah. That's the byproduct.
But I mean, just getting. I had it pre-ordered.
You got the Witcher there.
So got the update and jumped in, and I played a lot of Overwatch on PS4, and so I'm like Zach, like I've got a lot of stuff that's stuck over there that I wish that I could bring over, and a lot of that is skins and things from past Halloween and everything.
Like the Santa Torbjorn costume, which is like the best thing ever.
Well, and I have like a ghostly Reinhardt and he's my favorite character, and so that was like I had the one that was like the dark armor with the flames coming out of the cracks and all that. I really
The
wish
blue one, the blue flames one, or the
I had both.
dragon one. Okay, cool.
I had both, and I wish I could get them back, but that maybe that will happen eventually down the road. That's my only gripe about it so far. But
it's not. It's
coming into it, it
so-
played exactly the same. Like so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I have noticed a little bit, and I don't know if it's my internet or if it's like the fact that the Switch is Wi-Fi, that whole thing. But I have noticed a little bit of lag every once in a while, but it's not terrible. But I should at least mention that that's been a thing. Just some like light skipping and stuff like that. But I don't know, maybe it's all just getting ironed out. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, that's some news. How about we
Sure.
talk about ourselves for a little bit?
Sure. Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite
It's gonna be
topic.
my
Oh, boy.
And you know what, Bobby,
Yeah.
since you're here and you're not
Yeah.
officially part of the Nintendo Dads, you can also feel free to ask any question that
Well,
you
listen. How about this? Can I start with this? I probably shouldn't do this. I probably shouldn't interrupt. But you know me, I like to talk. So here's the thing. I gotta say this. When I first came on this show years ago, I was the Geek Guru, and you guys kind of set me off on a rebrand, at which I owe so much thanks to you guys for getting me off and running in a proper direction. And it's never failed that you guys have always been very supportive of the content that I create and all the stuff that I do, and that means the world to me. So I just wanted to thank you guys for what you've done for me as a Nintendo fan, number one, but also as me personally as a content creator, number two.
That's very kind of you, Bobby. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
I told you a couple weeks ago you're a national treasure.
That's only because I bought 3 Switch Lights. That's why you said that.
No, I mean
All we
And
did,
he's sending
Bobby,
one
was help
one to
you.
each of us. How kind is that?
Right. I've been hearing that all week, so all month.
Yeah. Bobby, all we did was help you see what was inside of you all along.
You know what?
actually-
Get out of here with the psychiatrist talk, all right?
Here's the honest truth. It wasn't seeing what was inside Bobby. It was seeing what was on the walls behind him.
Yeah, this is
That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Can I tell you something? I appreciate those kind words, and I'm very thankful for you. But we're not calling a comeback anymore.
Trust me, I got more comebacks built in.
Oh, gosh.
It's in my mental contract with myself and God that we're gonna have many, many more.
Yeah,
So, be ready.
That's fine. That's fine. Jesse, do you have some music for this to transition over into?
Is it like Sarah McLaughlin's "I Will"?
That's good. It's very regal sounding, very official, which we are not. But guys, anyway, if you have been living under a rock or you're just tuning in, and why would you be? Because I mean, you have to download this and you would have to listen to get to this point. Episode 250 means it's 5 years of Nintendo Dads. 5
Oh,
whole years.
what? Why has this not been put to like some sort of an end by now? Who has let this continue?
Right.
Well,
Well, you tried to kill it, but apparently they were like, no.
We have patrons who actually keep it going.
Oh man, yeah, it's your fault, patrons. No,
Yeah. So blame it on you. And so what we did over the past couple weeks is we asked for you guys to write in or to tweet or to talk about episode 250 to whatever you wanted to say because of that. But before we get to that, I kind of want to go around and just kind of get some thoughts. As I really wanted, like not as a person on the show, but as a fan of the show, which I was first. My fan of the show dream for this episode was to just hear Zach and Justin and Jesse talk a little bit about these past 5 years. Because you guys are the ones who started it. You guys are the ones that were kind of, you brought me on, you brought Gary on. And so, like,
is this like the thing? This must be what getting old feels like, where they just drag you out when it's time to give a history lesson. You know what I'm talking about?
this is like every year, Zach. This is like
Tell
every
us
year
what
at
World War
WrestleMania.
II was like, Grandpa.
This is like every year at WrestleMania when they bring Hulk Hogan back out, and
Yeah.
he looks like a piece of beef jerky in red spandex. You know, that's. I mean, that's.
That's exactly. I turned my camera off for that very reason. It wasn't
Because he's
my Wi-Fi was
getting in his yellow spandex right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for the. I can't wait for the reappearing of the camera.
Yeah, I'm just
So what? I
yeah,
mean,
no,
you
it's good.
guys like. I think. I mean, we owe it to you guys to kind of talk a little bit about this. So, for those of us who, or for those people who have not been listening for all of that long and don't remember the three OG Nintendo dads, why in the world did you start this thing?
I blame those two.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Like, if someone's going to fall on this sword, it's probably going to be Zach or I taking the
Yeah.
blame for this.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it probably and as silly as this might sound, I think part of it is just that we liked the sound of our own voice back then and thought that we needed that the world just did not have enough of our voice in it, and we actually just sort of were like, okay, well, like when Justin and I, we've talked about this on like other podcasts before, but like this famed mandate at Tim Hortons, after Justin reaching out on Twitter and just being like, okay, well, it seems like we should do a podcast together, and then basically laying out every sort of shared interests and stuff like that, and the Venn diagram sort of intersected on video games and parenting, and hey, we both like Nintendo. That sounds like a good idea, and kind of just went from there. So I don't know, just that's how I remember it, and looking at it now. But it just seemed like, and maybe I'm selling it short on the why, but it always felt like at the time this intersection of parenting and video games was kind of not well, at least back then I remember thinking it was not very well served at the time, and maybe even now it's still something that makes Nintendo Dad special, is that it's very specific, right? And so that's something that I always think has been why it's resonated as much as it has. So
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted a friend. I just wanted to expand my circle of friends, and you seemed okay, cool, and okay. So why not? Let's do this.
I know that you're kind of being a dick about it, which is fine. But also, I think that
It's also not wrong.
That's the thing, is that if there is one thing that being a psychologist has told me, is that there's truth in everything anybody ever says. Right? And I think that that's actually true, is that there was this whole thing of I think that as parents, a lot of people feel like it's very easy to feel disconnected, right? And especially when your main hobby is video games and you're a parent, the fact that to have a social circle of any kind can be really difficult, and you've got to be intentional about it. And so I think part of what we did was this seems like a very lonely stereotype of person. I don't know if we go that far, but there was a need there, right? There was a need for social connection and really bringing people together. And right away, as soon as we did that, people started, as soon as people found us, they're like, oh my gosh, this is Nintendo Dads. This is great. This is what I need. I didn't even know I needed this until now. This is so great for me, right?
Yeah, I think I want to lean into a little bit of that, because I do think you're right. As much as I'm being a bit of a dick about it, right? But yeah, for me, it was a little bit of I'd like more friends who kind of like video games, who like Nintendo video games, kind of like I do, and you seem like someone who likes that. So maybe we can have a chat about it. And I remember, and I've never had a large group of friends. I always had a small group of friends, right? And as the first couple of times we kind of got started, just for me, it wasn't about the podcast. It was about the fact of you, me, and Jesse just geeking out, right? About this thing that we were passionate about, that we really enjoyed about, because no one else would really care to listen to me, right? I was listening to my own podcasts of other people talking about Nintendo stuff, and I was like, I know these things, I know that, I can do that too. And I totally agree with you. I want to yell at Jose Otero because he's wrong, or I tell him something different. And I was like, wow, somebody's kind of like me, and it's okay to be a 30-ish grown adult with kids who likes video games. That's okay. And I think that's one of the things that this community, and now I'm kind of 30,000 foot view here, is doing well, is normalizing that. and saying that's okay. It's okay to be a parent. It's okay to be passionate about a hobby that's video games. It's okay to do all these things and try and figure out what you want to do. And I think that's, I think of everything, and I think to your point, you know, Zach, when people connected with it, I think that's what people connected with. I think for me, that's, I think, the thing that I'm most happy about is that this idea of ours, and let me be completely frank about this to start off with. The fact that we are here 5 years later, 250 episodes later, talking about this, and this still exists, and that, to be honest, is not really in our hands anymore, right? This used to be Zach and Justin and Jesse, right? Like, that was our show, right? And we kind of controlled it. And what's happened over the last year or last several years is it has grown beyond our hands. It's beyond our scope. Like, it is a beast now that we don't have control over it. And someone asked me before, like, how do you measure success on Nintendo Dads? And I've been asked this question before, and I was like, when we were first doing this, it was like, did people listen? Right? That was our first metrics. Then it was people subscribing? Were people following us on Facebook? Were people following us on Twitter?
Did we have 2 people watching us live?
Yeah, were people, like, those were our metrics, right? And then it was, are we getting guests? Like, all these things. Were we getting codes? Or these were our things that we measured success by. And it is only recently that my statement has completely shifted, that those metrics don't mean jack, because we're chasing the wrong metrics. We're chasing the wrong thing of what success is. And the reality is that success has been because of a community of people who have grabbed this thing, who are passionate about it beyond Jesse, beyond Zach, and beyond me, and have said, this is a community and this is a place that I call home. And whether it's a 90 Patreon folk who support us, or the 2,500 people who listen to our episodes every week, or the people who follow us on Twitter, or whatever that is, they have found a home and have found a voice and found something they connect with. And that's, for me and for us, I think, is the most important thing, right? I've talked about before, like, Zach, you'll leave, I will leave, we will all leave at some point. But does the ethos, the ideology of what this is, stand that it can continue? And maybe not in the way that I want it, but it continues in that this is a home for people. And that's how I'm measuring success on this.
And I think that, you know, like, I know that early on, like, there was this point, and I think that it's been interesting because Nintendo Dads has always been this thing that to a certain group of people, it's awesome. And that it used to actually, I mean, if I'm being frank, there was a while, and I know, Justin, you and I had talked about this, where it felt like there was this ceiling we could never break through, almost, right? That I think that at the time it was like, yeah, but we could be like Radio Free Nintendo, or like Nintendo Voice Chat, and like having these aspirations. And I think you're right, though, that now it's much more of like, yeah, but there's this, it's not just about quantity, it's also about quality. And I think that, like, the quality of the community and the quality of our little corner of the internet is like, it's not just about how many people do we interact with, but also like how, like, what is the quality of this community, right? And the amount of interaction that we have with that. And I know I haven't been able to be as engaged with it as I frankly would like to be, but every time I come back, I'm like, it's like home, you know, and it just feels. It feels like, you know what, like, we just keep doing this, and it, like you said, like, if this is the place that we've got our own little corner of the internet where we're just doing things that we really enjoy and have fun with, that is, if we're meeting that need, and if this community is the kind of healthy, good community that it can be, and it's helping those people, then that's all we can ask for, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, just to speak to that, like, when you guys first asked me to come on the show as a guest, it wasn't like this awkward thing where, oh, he's the guest, we'll have our conversation and then we'll let him in on part of it. It was, no, you're part of the family. You know, you're part of this. It's like
Olive Garden, man. It's like,
once you're here, you're here. And so it was like, it was being invited in, and then, like, I had guested on the show a few times, And I actually had this idea that probably would have been a dumb idea, but like I kind of messaged Justin and I was like, so what would you think? Like I'm not doing anything podcast wise, haven't done anything podcast wise for like a year. What would you guys think about doing something like Nintendo Dad South? And his response was, well, we've actually just been thinking about adding you to the show. And I'll never forget that message. I was like, what the crap?
You're like, oh no, what have I done?
No, it was like in my mind, I was like, what? Just like I came in with this idea, and now it's a totally different thing. And so we ran with that.
I was hoping for a certain level of professional distance, really, like plausible deniability if things go south. But
no. But like
Different kind of
That
stuff.
was our out package, actually.
yeah, I'll never forget like starting and like being on the show full time and being nervous, like, is this gonna work? Is this gonna, and I also never will forget like the first like really the first review that we got after the show was or after I came on the show was the new guy killed it. I can't listen anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
oh my God, what have I done? And I mean, I legitimately
I'm
went
sorry
home
for
and-
putting that review in there. My bad.
it's okay, Bobby. You and I are friends now. But like, no, seriously, like I went home after reading that review and I was like, it bored into my brain. I was thinking, what am I like? Here's this podcast I really love, and these guys, I've never met them, but I feel like I know them, and here we've got this friendship, and now I'm killing it. I'm the guy who's going to kill it. And guess what? I wasn't. Because
Yeah.
we're still
It just-
here.
People don't like change, so he just picked that one
we're
moment
at
to be a
episode
dick about it.
And so like and then like going through more change from there, like Zach, you having to I mean, for lots of reasons having to step away, and which totally legitimate, and then Justin moving to Ireland for 2 years, and that was like 2 years of like
We call those the dark times.
well, I've been on the show for 3 years, and now it's 2 years of that. Justin was in Ireland. Now he's back, and now we've got Gary, and we've brought him in, and it's kind of like Justin was saying, it's kind of become this. I don't want to call it a monster, but it's become its own animal, right? It's become its Nintendo Dads is not something so much that we do or produce anymore. It's its own living, breathing entity.
It really is, and I don't know, Bobby, if you kind of discover these things too as your kind of brand or what you do grows, right? And you're a person who streams quite frequently as well. But like when it was Zach, Jesse, and I, it was like literally, we would do notes before a show. We'd throw down like what was cool to talk about, and then we just sit down and record, and that was kind of it, right? Like dollars to nuts, that was kind of it. And now we're at a point where not to be rude, but like I'm spending anywhere between 8 to 12 hours in messaging and communications every single week, whether it's in our Discord, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's emails out to developers, whether it's asking people to volunteer to do reviews. Like it's now become this like producing management role where before it was just like, remember when we just sat around and talked about how awesome the Wii U was? Do you remember when we talked about how cool Paper Mario Color Splash was for 3 months?
We got a game
because
this month.
nothing was there.
The one
Does
thing,
anyone-
the one thing I'll say though about you guys is, as far as the guests go, you guys are on that game pretty early in terms of bringing people in all the time. I remember when Justin, when you asked me to come on the first time, and I was like, yeah, man, no problem. I'm thinking like this week, and it's like, yeah, I have time in like April, and meanwhile it's like February, and I'm like, what? Like who books that far out? And it was like, and that's what he did, and that was every single time that he booked me would be like months in advance, like because you guys had so many people coming on the show, and like, but you recognized right out the gates that like that was part of what helped you grow, was the fact of like you were bringing all these communities together. And that's the thing, like I feel like you guys are kind of the centerpiece to a lot of, you know, Justin, you and I have had these conversations privately where like we feel like we're the godfathers, we're the grandfathers, like we started it all, you know what I mean? Like we were the ones who were originally, when all the people in NVC were starting podcasts, like we were among them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's the one thing that like a lot of those connections come from the Nintendo dads, because we would all listen and it was like, oh, okay, I know this guy, and then next thing you know, boom, we're all working together, you know what I mean? Like we're all starting to coincide and do stuff together. And so I think it's amazing, you know, when you think back about it.
Yeah, I think it's more like people were listening and said, if these idiots can do this, we can absolutely do better than these fools.
Well, and like I think you know one of the things that I want to say too, and I feel like maybe I've said this before, but as far as like, you know, I always have this moment where, and this isn't like a fake humbleness kind of thing, but like genuinely, whenever I hear this thing of like, oh yeah, like Zach and Jesse and Justin, and not to like discount you, Jesse, on this, but like I often feel like the success from beginning to end, I feel like Justin in particular, like I'm like I have ADHD. I am unreliable and a scatterbrain, and Justin has herded me like a rabid feral cat more times than I care to admit. And I think that like so much of what Nintendo Dads has always been from beginning to end has been Justin and his like consistency and ability to like dedicate himself to it and figure all of this out. Like Justin, I don't think you'd nearly get enough credit. Like I always hesitate to take the credit when I'm like, oh no, I just showed up. Like I just was like some sort of like crazy off the wall person who, you know, was the weirdo. I don't know, whatever. And Justin was the one who was like constantly like, no, really, get that friggin' review up, or no, really, like we need to do this, or like the strategy was by design, and like Justin with like the elbow grease and all of that stuff. And I mean, same thing with Jesse with like keeping the website running, keeping like all of the background technical stuff that like, again, Nintendo Dads wouldn't exist without all of this, right? And I think it was really just a matter of, hey, everybody, let's just be excited. And I was, yeah. So I just want to make sure that credit has been in my mind and continues to be, especially to you two, on even getting that thing off the ground. Because if it was up to me, that airplane would have smashed into the ground very early on. Because so I just think
I don't think
great.
there's anybody that doesn't recognize that, Zach. I think anybody that listens to the early years, they all know that like it
They're
was
like, what the hell is Zach doing on this show?
No, I will say this. Honestly, in all truthfulness, there is a moment that I still to this day miss, and that's whenever something would come up, something big from Nintendo was on the horizon, and Zach would float in with the keep your expectations low, like lower your expectations. Like he was always the voice of reason, man.
High hopes, low expectations.
Exactly.
And when people are complaining,
he even did that in Discord the other day. People were starting kind of going off the wall and it was over some political thing, and Jack made a statement that just mellowed everyone out. Like, okay, yay, the voice of reason's back.
And now, hey, and you know what's funny too is that when the show started, I don't remember what I was doing. Since the show started, I went to school to become a psychologist, and now I've been a psychologist for 2 years. Like, to me, that's like more of a personal life reflection thing, but that's friggin' crazy. Like, I have turned that into my career, is speaking reason to people for a living. It's weird. But,
someone's got to.
Yeah, I guess so. Right. Yeah. But yeah. So again, the as far as everybody having a role to play, and I think even as we brought more people on, right, like it's been interesting to see other people bringing their side of things in. So, are you guys losing me? Am I
No,
glitching
No,
out?
you're right.
No, you
Yeah.
just
No,
had
there was
having
just some
some
weird ethereal sound on your end.
and then
Oh,
Let me,
okay.
let,
oops.
me ask you, let me ask you a question real quick, and
Yeah.
I guess this goes to all you guys in a nutshell, more or less. Is so when all of us began the whole podcast stuff, it was in the Wii U era, and things weren't rosy or whatever. But we all still kind of like were tried and true, and we love Nintendo. We push forward. Since the Switch, like it seems like podcasts are like popping up every other week for Nintendo podcasts and Switch podcasts and all that stuff. But like, have you guys felt any pressure from that to like continue to go, or do you feel
So-
like what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll maybe tackle a little bit of that from my perspective. So first, let me say this: for all of you shows who have popped up in the last 2 to 3 years, screw you. All right, all right. We were around during the drought. Okay.
Yeah,
Get
we
off our
literally
lawn.
talked 3 months about Paper Mario Color Splash and Star Fox.
We
all right?
wandered in the
So
wilderness for
you
how
have this
long?
plethora of content and social media and access to games. Forget you, all right? You try sitting in your basement on Lego blocks underneath you and talk about Star Fox and be happy about it, all right? So first and foremost, forget you.
okay.
Second of all,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think the interesting part, and I think for example, Bobby, I think like Switch Island is a great example of this. Right? Those guys are killing it. Do you know what I mean? And I had an opportunity to meet them at EGX last year, and that team, and it was kind of like looking at this like younger, thinner British version of Nintendo dads. Because they were like, yeah, we're a team of like 4 guys, and we spread the work out, and we want to bring people in. And I was like, God,
Yeah.
and I was like, and how long did it take you guys to figure that one out? They're like, oh, like 2 months. And I was like, really? It took us 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think like, and I've said this to Danny, and because he's kind of the
Yeah.
running shop there,
Yeah.
and I've said, in all honesty, I think when you see folks like that, and Switch, I think there's other groups out there, but Switch Island definitely stands out for me in that. It makes me want to sharpen our saw. Do you know what I mean? Like, guys, we need to be doing better.
Yeah.
Our content needs to be sharper. Our look
Yeah.
needs to be a bit better. We should be, we need to be finding different ways to do the work that we're doing. So I think it does that. And then there's other times that I'm like, God, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we've been running on this treadmill for
You're
5 years. I'm
goldless.
so tired. Like,
I just hope that Sean Capri is listening right now, because these are wise words. You know what I mean? Like, step it up, Capri. Like, get off
Yeah.
that Xbox Drive thing. Let's go. Come
well,
on.
and it's actually really funny to kind of talk about that. And I think, Bobby, you mentioned this a little bit about, right? Like 5 years ago, when we were all kind of entering this scene, and everyone was just kind of starting entry and finding our ways, and we began finding friends. And Bobby, you're a great example of that. Sean's a great example of that. The Mega Dads, right? Like these people, Mark Carabin, these people who were kind of just out there and like, hey, you seem to like the things I like. Let's talk and let's connect. The amazing part for me, at least, has been watching them grow.
Yeah.
Watching our friends grow and have success, right? And that makes, it's not our success, it's their success, and that makes me. And I'm not saying like we own any of it. What I mean by that is just like, man, I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. I'm so proud of the content that you're putting out there, because it's just so good, and I love listening to it. And I don't love listening to it because you're a friend of mine. I love listening to it because it's good, and because I love your energy and you're passionate about what you do. And a great example, like just watching Sean and the success he's recently had with Xbox Drive and the opportunities it's provided. I mean, going to E3, like, man, just like kudos to you, right? Like, oh, that's amazing, right? Bobby, you rebranding yourself, finding your voice, and creating like daily content, man. Like, I just love what that is, right? I look at the Mega Dads, and I truly believe they are the best produced podcast out there. The amount of energy and just time and energy they put into that, the production value, and if there is a bar for us to look to and aspire to for Extra Life, it's them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And just watching all these groups of people that we've quote unquote grown up with, right, over these years, cut our teeth with, like grew from each other, learned from each other, the success that they're having in using Zach's words, in their corner of the internet. Man, I'm just so proud, right? And it's just like so much love for that. And it's not us trying to compete against each other's mind share. It's not competing against ego. It is literally just like Bobby, you can give us a call and be like, hey, I need a guest. Can you pop on? Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I know what I need to do for you. I know what the role is. I'm there. You need to pop on here and thank you for joining us today. And you're probably like, I wanted to come talk about video games, and you guys are talking about how awesome you are. Like it's 1:00 in the morning. I got better things to be doing with my time.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Right? So I'm right on all of those accounts, right? But like you kind of know that role and that ability to jump into, and I think that's something that has been just tremendous as well.
I want to just say here that like my feeling on that question, Bobby, is that what I want to bring to the table for this show is I don't ever want to get tired of, and I don't want to ever get complacent or grow callous to the incredible opportunity it is for me to be on the show every week. Like I still to this day, 3 years in, sometimes like we'll get a message or I'll get an email or whatever, or somebody will make a comment about something that I said, and it will blow me away that like people actually give a rip about what I say.
Mhm.
Like we had a
so-
lot of good positive feedback over our conversation last week.
Yeah, and like that blows me away. Like the fact that people and I'll be honest with you, when Justin told me, like, I guess it was a year or 2 years ago, he's like, I'm gonna have to pull back for a good long while, and so we're bringing Gary in, but you kind of like, you guys are gonna have to run it on your own, like I'm gonna be here, but I was like, well, crap, now I'm really gonna blow it up, but like I just, I don't know, like I
You know what's so interesting about
is
that,
it
though,
like
Marty?
here's
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say, like, as you're saying that, though, I think it really comes down to, and I feel like this was always something that was sort of like a mindset for me, and like part of maybe like was like got infused into the ethos of what Nintendo Dads is, but just like this idea that for me it was always like it's about let's just be ourselves and be authentic, and if that resonates with people and we're having fun, that's good enough. And that was always the thing, and I feel like that even as we've invited other creators on, or members of the community, or just like listeners, that it's always been, hey, you got something to say, we want to hear it, and we think that there's value in that, and that's enough. Just be yourself, and like put yourself out there, and that like that's enough, right? And
Right.
that is like, sure, we could polish this turd a little bit, and I think that we got pretty good at polishing the turd pretty good, right? Like polishing this to a certain place where it's like, yes, we can always polish things more, but even it's just, there is something about a bunch of Nintendo dads coming together and just sharing a common passion that is in and of it. Like if we were all just friends if we all lived in the same town, we would just be coming together and having this exact same conversation. Right?
Yes.
We would still talk about the same thing, and that's what this has always been. And kind of going back to the, that for parents often, as Nintendo fans and dads, when was the last time you got to get together and talk video games with your fellow dad buddies? It's like, well, I wish that was the case, but now people are actually able to listen in and feel like there's a part of that that's being fulfilled, even in some small way, and that just being yourself is enough. And I think that's something that, I think really maybe is coming through and is resonating with what you're saying. So, yeah.
Could
I
I jump in
completely
and
Absolutely, Tim.
give a kind of a fan perspective, since probably a lot of people are, if they're watching on YouTube or anywhere else, are like, who's this jabroni sitting up here in the corner that's barely been on here? But basically I started following you guys in 2016 around E3. After watching that E3, probably getting a little frustrated with Nintendo at that time, but still a fan, obviously. So I started looking for new ways of learning about Nintendo other than just Nintendo themselves. So I discovered podcasts. And that's when I found you guys on Facebook and started listening to you guys. Started listening to some of the past shows and became a fan. And then, of course, when Patreon and stuff, and I was just showing this in the pre-show, but I still got my sign sheet from the original crew and all that kind of stuff.
Wow, that's
and
great,
the thank you
dude.
you guys sent me and all that from for being a Patreon producer and all that fun stuff. And that was something special. Just getting that alone was awesome, and just became a huge fan. But it was about not just what you guys were mentioning, or what I was mentioning about being a Nintendo fan, looking for something to listen to, and to learn new things outside of just Nintendo feeding me the information, but also, hey, these guys are dads too. And, they have to do adulting and have to do all this other stuff too, and play games. And in fact, that was one of my first questions was, how do you guys find time to play video games and do the podcast and, be a dad? And then, as time went on, listening to you guys, and then doing the community things, listening to podcasts with a guest like Bobby here, and then following him and watching his show and growing with that and becoming a fan of his show, and then others like Sean, like seeing him come on in one of the community chats, that you guys would have, and meeting him and wondering, who's this guy, so, and learning about all the things that he did. And then I also learned about the Mega Dads through you guys. So yeah, it's, as a fan, you guys, I learned a lot about podcasting from you guys. But then also too, as I grew in this area and started talking to you guys more online and things like that, wanted to help in any way I could to help you guys get wherever you guys wanted to go, which it led me to obviously doing Discord for you guys and stuff like that. So, and then so on and so forth. But just all that stuff you guys are talking about is something, as I came in, maybe not from day one, but from 2016 on, and even through the changes, yes, some of that I did feel, like with those changes when Zach was, even before Zach, before you started leaving, but Justin, you were going and Zach was going and Marty was coming on and Gary was coming on. It was like all these changes, and, you kind of wonder what's going on with the Nintendo dads, but the community was still there. No matter who came into that seat, we were all still talking about the same things, what we loved about Nintendo, non-Nintendo, being an adult, and having fun with that too, because the After Dark stuff, so,
Yeah.
There's so much about the community that I hope that, I'm sure I'm missing some other things that other people feel about you guys, but hopefully I conveyed some of that as a fan, what you guys brought to the table.
Yeah.
Well said.
So,
Thank you, Tim.
So here's the deal. We're gonna dive into some of your comments and questions, but before we do that, Tim, I think that this is a perfect time to segue into something that we need to do on this episode. Justin, if you agree with this?
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. So Tim has, for the past, I guess, 2 years almost been busting his tail. I mean, that's really just the only way we know to say it. Between community manager, setting up Discord, taking on reviews, filling in on the podcast. And so, last week on the show, we talked about, we had a big announcement on this week's episode. And so I guess it's just time to just let the cat out of the bag, right? And so we want to welcome our newest full-time member of Nintendo Dads, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Joining us here. Now going to be part of the show all the time.
Full-time staffer.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you don't get benefits or 401ks. But we just make it sound official, like we aren't a corporation, but we don't.
Yes. Yeah. So what this means now is that you only have to get me coffee twice a week.
Okay. Excellent.
Right?
Yep.
But
I understand.
I like, honestly, this is one of those things that is sorely overdue. And Tim, I mean, without sitting and gushing, like, but being honest, there's a lot of things that we in the last 2 years we've done that we couldn't have done without him.
100% agree.
And
can I just say my actual genuine reaction is excitement, but also, wait, he's not? like a little bit of moral outrage of like, are you kidding me? Like, but anyway, yeah, no,
He
that's
wasn't
great.
already?
That's cool. Yeah, well, and of course with that, I think of course, does that mean that there's going to be? I mean, this is literally, I don't know why I'm doing a production meeting, but like clearly we'll need.
You haven't been to
cover
one
art
for
now.
2 years. Why start now?
Yeah. We look. That's what I was about to say, Zach. So the folks who normally produce our key art here for each of us, they're backed up till December, and so Tim's art there. It's going to take a little while to appear, but no spoilers. I promise you that when you see it, it's going to be worth it.
That's awesome. I'm excited for that. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Well,
And with that, I
congratulations.
also
Thank you, Zach.
from our chat here on YouTube, our fan Ebucel, who's always around, we're so thankful for him and for folks like him. He reminds me, you are no longer from Minnesota. You are from Michigan now that you're a full-fledged Nintendo dad.
I'm representing Michigan now. Good.
I got to get it right. And so, guys, let's dive into these. Jesse is gone.
Yeah.
So I look up and he's gone. He'll be back in just a minute. He's got a couple of voicemails we're going to play, but we actually got an email this week that I want to share with you guys from Mecha Dragon 101. And this is what he writes. He says, "Hey, Nintendo dads, this is Mecha Dragon 101. I sent a voice message just now, but wasn't sure it came out right. So I thought I'd send an email response as well. Congratulations on having 250 episodes while at the same time being around for 5 years. That is insane. While I've only just gotten into you guys a little over a year ago, I still find the podcast to be very warming to watch, especially close to the end of a long work week. Everyone on the podcast sounds so wholesome that I would love to share a beer with one of you guys. Keep on gaming, everyone."
Yeah.
I'm ready for that beer.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the funny part was, and I don't remember who it was. This was years ago. I was in Kansas City. I was there for a long weekend, and I mentioned on the podcast, and I had someone slide into my DMs and was like, "Well, you're in Kansas City. Here are the 6 places you need to go." And they sent me like URLs and links, and they were like arcades, and there was beer arcades, and I was like, we have the best fans. Like legitimately, we have the best fans in the world.
That's so good.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Jesse, do you have those voicemails ready? Jesse, can you hear me?
Jesse,
Nope.
can you hear me?
He's
Everybody
looking-
wave at Jesse.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I got one here from Ariel. Yeah, it's in
This is from
Patreon.
Patreon, right?
Yep. I discovered Nintendo Dads back in 2015, shortly after I first learned about what would become the single most important difficult reward experience of my life, the existence of the NX. Just kidding. I found out I was going to be a father. Thanks for all the laughs, thoughts, reactions, and predictions throughout the years. This remains my favorite podcast, which I hope to share with my daughter someday when she picks up her first controller.
Wow.
Aww.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Absolutely. I got another one here from Joel. Nintendo Dads, hi. I've never written in the show before, but I have been listening every week since the Switch came out. Listening to you guys helps me get through the late 2 a.m. shifts, and even now, well, bedbound with a hernia. Ooh, ouch. Well, Joel, I hope you feel better. That is not good. Rest up, please feel better, and that would be a good thing. Santiago reads, "Congratulations, guys. I am the one and only listener from Argentina and would like to thank you for being such a nice company while I commute or during lunch breaks. The mix between being such Nintendo fans and the love of the Big N and being great parents is what drove me to listen to the show. Taking into account that the economy situation in our country tends to be rough, we are not able to buy all the games we would love to play. Hearing your thoughts on each title is a nice way to begin part of the conversation. Besides that, the monthly mayhem and the other contests are another great way to share some game time with other Nintendo fans like me. Thanks, all folks. I wish you the best and 250 more. Sorry, my rusted English, but I will practice enough later." Santiago, thank you so much. That is awesome. Big thank you to the guys who run the monthly mayhem. And again, that's another great example of like folks in our community raising their hand and saying, I got this and I have an idea, and can we just use your platform? Right. And we're like, yep, yes, you can. Right. And we're going to hear more of that actually coming up in the next couple of months. We're making some shifts to our organization again, or to this group, that's going to provide more opportunity for community. And I think is a great thing. That's another great example.
For those of you who have been asking in the chat, and I know that people have asked us several times, we just got the email for the Twitch affiliate.
Oh, did we?
Yep.
Just
Excellent.
now?
Yeah.
Just now. Live
Very
on air.
cool.
That is awesome.
Wow.
So that was a big thing that I do want to say. We had a bunch of people who were wanting to help us push over that boundary or over that hurdle. Believe it or not, interestingly enough, we had met every single quota except for the amount of people watching. You needed an average of 3 people, and we had 2.3 for like the last 7 hours.
So it's a high bar.
It's a high bar, folks. But thank you so much. We have been making that is another great kind of thing for us to fly fly our flag on. So thank you guys, and thank you for support. Watch now. We're gonna say that's done, and everyone's gonna leave this room. They're gonna be like, all right, I'm out.
That's exactly what I
In
thought.
the morning, I'm going to bed.
I don't want to give anybody any ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Bobby, any comments or thoughts on anything that's going on? I feel so bad that you've came on the show and looks like you're falling asleep.
No, I mean, dude, it's. I just think it's pretty awesome to be a part of this, and the fact that you guys are at 250 is pretty impressive. It's just insane the amount that you guys are at.
Yeah. So, Bobby, what would you learn? What can we teach you to be better at what you do? Obviously, your ship is sinking.
So I just messaged Sean. I was like, we need to hire an assistant. And then he started yelling at me, well, you need to do this and you need to do this. And I'm like, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have asked him about hiring somebody. But that's, no, I think that.
I'm sorry, Sean. I'm sorry.
I think that when you look at what you guys were able or are able to accomplish, it's inspiring. It really is. And it's funny because coming on the show, anytime that I've ever come on the show, and especially tonight, it reinvigorates me. It brings me back to go okay, I need to do this now. I need to try to do this now. And I always listen to you guys, and when I'm a part of the shows, it gives me ideas and stuff in my head because it gets me fired up to thinking especially 250. 250 is such a huge number. And it's man, there's no reason in the world why I can't do other things similar to what you guys are doing. So I always walk away from doing these shows reinvigorated. And that's how I feel that's tonight, definitely.
I was just really busting your chops more than anything else, but I'm glad that.
Well, the truth of the matter is
a solid yes and is what.
Listen, the truth of the matter is I probably have more than 250 shows myself. But sure. That's not the
Justin asking you that reminds me of being on this retreat that I was on one time where we were all at the very end. We're all sitting there and we're talking about what we've learned and what we've experienced and everything. And one of these guys on the retreat with us, he's sitting over in the corner and he raises his hand. I was like, yes, and he says, well, I just really would like us to all go around the circle and all of you talk about what you've learned from me this weekend.
That's great. I like that.
It was not great.
I just wanted to engage Bobby because it looked like he was starting to doze off there. So I was like, no, Bobby.
That's right.
Don't you just get out the switch light and play something different? But I think the funny part about that, I think one of the reasons why we're able to keep this going, and I mean, a little bit of your laugh there, Bobby, was hey, we need to hire an assistant. We've always had the mind share and the mentality that we cannot do this alone.
Yeah.
Right? If this show was just me at a microphone doing this would have died instantly. If it was Zach, probably would have died instantly.
Yeah.
It would have died before instantly. It would have been hey, I should record this, and then I'd record it and never post it.
But it really is it is the group of us in the community that energize it, right? Because we can shift that work, right? And there's a question we're going to do later, and somebody asks, I think is, how do you keep doing it? How do you do 250? How do you stay energized? It is literally because not one of us has to take the entire weight of it.
Yeah.
It is somebody saying hey, I got an hour, I got 2, right? There are times I wake up and I wake up to 6 or 7 messages from Tim, right, in Discord. But it's always Good morning, Justin.
Sorry
I
about
hope
that.
you are well and you have slept well. By the way, here's what we have to do today, right? And so if I was like herding Zach, Tim kind of herds me now. But I do think
Who
it's a
herds
shifting.
the herder?
Yeah, I think it's shifting weight and responsibility. So like when I see like you guys, Bobby, just trying to do it on your own, like man, kudos to you guys because I know I couldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just
Well,
just impressed.
Sean is kind of that person. A lot of times he'll yell at me once in a while, like do this, do that, and I'm like, calm down, Capri. Just calm down.
Also, I think the problem with Sean is I think like let's like just Bobby, just you and I, just a little bit of real talk here. Like,
Please,
God,
please.
he's got an ego. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
I'm thinking to
burns
myself,
through-
like maybe I should have brought you on if we ran Nintendo
Right.
and
Well,
kind of like, you know.
I also hear he's a diva.
He,
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
you
burns-
have no idea.
Like you're on a third co-host to a show.
Yeah,
The third co-host, like, what are you saying to these people? How are you treating Luke Lore? Do you know what I mean? Like, really? Come on. Like, Ryan, just get out of there now. And he's Canadian, so he's just going to take it all the time. He's just too polite. And he'll be like, sorry. Right? So, like, it's...
Ooh.
I don't
That was a low blow.
Jesse!
I'm
Cue the
back.
voicemail!
Oh,
Well, give me a
wait
minute.
for it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, 5
His,
years
his
of
headset
podcast
died, and
quality.
so he's
Yeah,
been
well,
scrambling for like the last
yeah,
10 minutes.
literally, it took me. There was a 20 minutes of that conversation I didn't hear because my USB audio device decided to die, and I wasn't sure if it was my headset, a cable in the middle, and I found another one, and I had to switch settings on the fly. So now I need to check
don't
to
go
make
What
change
sure.
all
This
that
is-
you
this is-
missed
this
was
is what-
all
this
of
is
the
what
praise
everybody-
for you.
Oh, of course.
This is what everybody tunes in for is this quality podcasting. In all seriousness,
Bunch of dads
Uh,
doing this stuff.
just keep.
So while he's setting that
don't
up,
go
let's
changing.
hit another one of these comments here.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm ready
Nick-
when you are, but go ahead.
Nick Metzger wrote in and he said this: "Congrats, guys, on 250 episodes. Congrats on growing from a podcast to YouTube to streaming. But let's be honest, congrats on making it through the Wii U era. But most of all, congrats on growing in a community that surpasses all the cool stuff Nintendo forces me to buy. I grew up in a rural town where sports ruled and nerds were not yet cool. The internet wasn't really a thing. Let's be honest, it's still not a thing for Nintendo. This community was the first place I learned to share my love of video games and specifically of quirky Nintendo goodness. This didn't stay confined to the community and emboldened me to own my passion for the crazy and share it with others around me. Who would have thought I wasn't the only one in this one-horse town that had a passion for Nintendo? I've found friends around me thanks to the strength this community gave me."
Nice.
Wow,
Wow,
awesome.
that's awesome.
man.
That's so cool. Wow,
That's huge. That's
super cool.
well,
you know-
congratulations, man. That is awesome.
I think it really I think it speaks to like again like sure this is Nintendo like it I feel like it's always been the thing that sort of I feel like we'll almost belabor the point if we go too far on it but just the thing that like the Nintendo Dad specifically yes it was about Nintendo but it's always been a little more than that right like it's like yes it's Nintendo Dads like yes we're dads but also weirdly this like almost like this role for I think some people of like hey you got this right and like helping other people just kind of like he said I love how he's just like just own your passion it's cool like it's fine I think that everybody on this call can relate to in some way or another of like later in life being able to own that it's okay that you like video games or Nintendo or whatever right
Yeah.
and that maybe that wasn't
Totally.
always appreciated so
It's okay. It's okay to be you. It's okay to be who you are,
yeah
right? Regardless of what you think others are saying or how you feel society
Yeah.
is judging. Be true to who you are, right? And I think that's pretty awesome.
absolutely
All right, so let's hit that first voicemail.
Hey, fellow dads. It's occasional guest, regular Patreon producer Dave Ernsberger here, just calling you from Canary Wharf in London to congratulate you on 5 years and 250 episodes. What a great achievement. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be one of your many Patreon producers over these several years now, and certainly enjoyed the ride. Thinking about it before I called you, I just wanted to say I do very much appreciate the weekly shout-outs you do for all of us that come to use your Patreon. That's much appreciated. And when I look back on the last few years, many happy memories. I've enjoyed listening to the show very much. I think we hit peak dads, though, in 2018. Best moments included when you had a whole number of guests coming on the show at the beginning, not just Patreon producers, but folks from the industry. And I'd encourage you to get back to doing that again as a message from your Patreon producer. And I call it Peak Dads because I especially have fond memories of the time you had Phil Mewson on back in March 16th, 2018. I just did a little check back. The YouTube video of that show has 498 views, which is certainly nothing to sniff at. But of course, your August 11th YouTube video covering why you didn't cover the fact that Phil's been on the show has 1,650 views. Just saying a lot, I think, about the state of the internet and what kind of news people like to hear about. Anyways, congratulations on many years of great coverage. And as one of your producers, I'd encourage you to look at getting more of those exciting guests on. Hopefully not all as exciting as Mr. Mewson in retrospect, but certainly we love hearing voices from the industry, and you guys are increasingly well connected. So keep up the good work, and hope to see you all again soon. Thanks, bye.
That's awesome, and I will very easily address that right now. We will, and Tim's giving me thumbs up right now too, so that's a good sign. We are actually very actively going to be going back to getting guests on the show. We have already began booking guests for our next 4 weeks, I believe, at different points. We had to start the bar low, so Bobby joined us this week, and it will just continue to grow from there.
We meant that the show Capri was supposed to be here.
The thing is that when you start with the guru, where do you go from there?
You know what?
You can only go down. That's it.
You take the sidekick, which is Sean, and he shows up next week. You know what I mean? So it is Batman to Robin.
I'll be Batman.
Yeah. So Dave, thank you for that. I love the analytics that like Philip Mewson's show did better for the. That was great. That was such an uncomfortable time for us because we were getting like DMs, we were getting emails about like, why did you not cover it? Like that was the first time I think I ever had to get in front of our messaging for a decision that we made, and I was like, what are we? Like we're 5 guys who talk about video games. Like back off.
Right.
So, but that was an interesting statement. But yeah, we are going to be getting back to a lot more guests and developers coming on. And I think, Bobby, you mentioned that earlier, that was one of those things that we, I think, did successfully. And we're going to be continuing to get into that. And I'm going to lean into Tim to help me to keep me honest and keep the calendar filled. But we have developed great contacts to help us do that.
Yeah. And we've got one more voicemail, right?
Yes.
Woohoo! 250 episodes. Well done, dads. Well done. This is Drew. It's funny because I've tried my pitch. I've listened to a few different podcasts and stuff. But, I always come back to you guys. You guys are number one. And, it's funny because it's not that your content's bad. It's not the content. What keeps me coming back to you guys is you guys, the dads, your personalities, the way you guys present. I like your take on the parenting. I love Justin's take on the financials and the business aspect. I'm all about that. I'll be honest, I probably only play 25% of the games you guys talk about. Hate Pokemon. That's no secret. But yeah, you know what? It's you guys. It's you guys. It's the community. It's your, angle on topics that are unique. That's what keeps me going. I look forward to listening to you guys every week. Keep up the amazing work. Here's to 250 more. Well done, guys. Well done.
I have to say, he's got a pretty awesome show, too, that he does that I listen to. So it's another podcaster that listens to our show, and, it's really cool. He does the Disney Guys show, which is really cool.
Yes, and there might be a crossover coming soon with Nintendo Dads. What?
What?
Did I just tease something? Yeah, I did.
Disney Cross.
I'll wonder what the topic is.
Gee, there's no
I
Disney
have
games
no-
coming out soon, is there?
Yeah,
I don't
no old 1990s Disney games. A whole new world.
It's actually an old.
That's why you're here, is really to hear my sexy singing voice.
We're all
That
gonna
is
sing- we're all going to sing at the end of the show.
Right.
Surprise.
Bobby.
Did you know
Bobby,
that?
hey, right here, buddy,
Yeah.
right here.
I'm listen, you told me to play my Switch. I'm playing my Switch. Hey, what are you
What are you,
talking
what, are
about?
you, what, are you, what are you playing right now?
I'm playing baseball. Super
Base-
Mega Pro
What?
baseball.
Baseball. Can I ask you a question? Honest
Yes, sir.
question though. Like those
Yes,
look
sir.
really rubberized. Those consoles look really rubber. Are they rubbery? Do
Let
they
her
feel
play it.
rubbery?
No, they're plastic, man.
No, they're Matt.
I know, but they look that way.
See,
You know,
here's the
they-
thing. Here's the thing.
They look
Justin.
grippy.
When one
Yeah,
day,
grippy. Thank
one
you,
day,
Zach.
when you actually figure out how to spend money, you'll buy something like this, and they're amazing. This is really, all jokes aside, this is amazing, dude. This really is. It really is nice.
He has daughters. I don't think he has any trouble figuring out how to spend money.
Well, I mean, spend money on himself.
Spend money
I
on
don't mean- I don't mean
himself,
spend
yeah,
money
there you go.
on other things. I mean,
I just got myself a new iPhone 11 today. I feel good about how my financial decision was made.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'd be too exciting.
Let's hit another couple of comments here. Bruce Patterson says this. Congrats on episode 250, guys. I listen every Friday morning on my commute to work. Number one on my podcast list to listen to, then a Star Wars podcast. I want to give
Nice.
2 thumbs up to Uncle Jesse for getting the podcast out early Friday morning. I really appreciate it. All of you, thanks a lot. Bruce from Mirabel, Quebec.
Quebecois. Yes. Bonjour,
Oui,
sir.
oui,
Bonjour. You know, the funny part about that is like when Jesse doesn't get the episode out on a Friday, like by midday
really?
Friday, we start to get tweets who was like, "Where's my episode? What's going on?"
Oh yeah,
Just
we talk
noticed.
about this thing being like its own machine that keeps running even if we don't want to. Like, that's a part of it. Like you don't have a choice. Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Also, Sean Capri, this is a nice haircut. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be hating. All right, this is how I spend my money. Is looking good for you every day. All right.
Treat yourself.
Treat you.
Anybody that wants to see the opposite of that, go back and watch some episodes when you were in Ireland. Those weren't some good hair mornings.
He's got like the coffee mug and he's
Miserable as hell.
Oh man, it was rough. I'm not
I
gonna
didn't.
lie.
I think I
It-
tweeted something to you guys about Sean picture when he was on your guys' episode, like way back, and in the early before 100 or something.
Yeah, no, that's
In,
right.
in the chat, they asked someone, wouldn't you like to know? Asks, what is the Star Wars podcast? He didn't say. He just said it was.
yeah, it was a Star Wars podcast.
So
What's a
Fair
Star Wars podcast? Somebody name one.
I don't know.
I don't
the
know.
Force
Star
is
Wars
with you. You should subscribe. Yes.
Force Dads. All right.
this
Red
is
versus
not the
blue, I don't know.
podcast
And
you're
Sean,
looking for.
Sean, I do appreciate that was a genuine comment. It was very nice.
It was
we'll
not
take it.
genuine. Don't.
Let's
no.
take a couple quick Twitter questions. Scare. Oh my gosh.
Shy Guy.
No. Shells Scare Boo or Shell Shock Prime asks, by any chance, are you open to more Nintendo podcast crossovers down the road? Yes, we are. Absolutely. Hit us up, send us DMs. We will do crossovers. We'll join you. We will have more guests on, so absolutely we will do that stuff.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Where
I
else?
thought
We
you
got some
were
more
saying another
emails?
guy's name. Yeah, we got some more Twitter comments. Shy Guy says, congratulations, love the show. How do you keep up your enthusiasm and love for the show each week? Coffee.
Yeah, I feel for Marty. Like I don't know how the hell he does
Coffee.
You look like come on, Bobby. It's only 1:37 right now.
it. Only.
Oh yeah, only.
Only.
I'm in
No,
Bobby's time
No,
too.
seriously,
by the way.
like, can I go back to something Zach and Justin said earlier? When it's a conversation between friends, it's easy to be enthusiastic about. I look forward to Thursday nights to get on Skype and talk to my friends.
It's a good shift.
And-
like
And the thing is like my friends on the show and my friends that are listening to the show.
Yes.
I like to
Chunk-
talk to
chunky
my
pretty.
friends.
Chunky
And I've
pretty.
learned not to complain about the time after Justin and Gary got on at 4:00 in the morning to do a show.
Can't complain about that. Gary's
Yeah.
waking up at 4 a.m. when he's on. I'm not complaining.
that really sucked. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
First time, long time. Would you do a crossover event with our podcast, Nintendo Dads, and If We Ran Nintendo. Sorry, If We Ran Nintendo. Have you guys heard of that podcast before? I have. Is that that sounds? I mean, that sounds like a really bad idea for a podcast idea.
Wow. Wow.
Is that?
I've listened to
Just
them a
what-
couple
Justin,
times, and
is
they
that
rip
not
on
just
you guys
what
all
we
the
do
time.
every week?
That's what we do every week. Have you not heard the session If Justin Ran Nintendo? Like, I
You
think they
know,
stole our
actually-
idea.
You know
They
what? Actually,
stole
You
our
think
copyright.
really? We stole your idea? Okay.
Okay.
Ever since we created that show, every come up upon podcast tries to steal it. So stop.
let's be real though, Bobby. I believe it's Nintendo Dad's episode somewhere between 10 and 15. The episode title was "If We Ran Nintendo," which
Really?
that preceded
Was
your podcast.
Because I don't know about that because I
No
searched
way.
it.
No, it's
Sean and I
hopefully-
literally
I guarantee
searched.
No, let's
Sean and I
Jesse-
literally
Jesse,
Go to
searched.
the archive.
Go back to episode 0. Sean and I are looking it up. I do a Google search and I do an iTunes search, and that does not come up anywhere.
Episode. It's called "If I Ran Nintendo," episode 12.
Episode 12. Oh.
If I ran
I-
Nintendo.
You put in we.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's okay.
Yes,
Totally
it was
fine.
"If I Ran Nintendo." Yeah, that episode was "If
Jesse.
I Ran Nintendo."
Jesse, call our lawyers.
Yeah. No.
Make a note.
It's all friends here. It's all friends. Call the lawyers. Call
No.
the lawyers. Call the lawyers.
Isn't that the under pressure Vanilla Ice type thing going on
Damn.
there?
Yeah.
You know where you have to change the name.
Speaking
Exactly.
of Vanilla Ice, Adam Leonard writes in, how come Jesse won't return my phone calls? We were supposed to drive across the country eating and reviewing artisanal sandwiches this summer, and he straight up ghosted me. Where's the fudge? That's what that stands for, right, guys? WTF,
Yeah,
where's the fudge?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dying.
They're
so good.
I you know, the funny part about, again, the Mega Dads is that there is no group that we bring on that causes more fire in our comments than the Mega Dads.
And you never know. I mean, like, this is standard fare, and I love
Yeah.
it. It's
No,
fantastic.
but I remember like when we had come off of E3 and they were our roaming correspondents, I think, for our first E3 with them, and their comments regarding Joy-Cons almost put us at an E explicit rating for our episode, and we got like the emails that I got and the messages I got from our fans of like, I listened to your show with my children. I don't think that was a good episode. And I was like, no, that's a fair point. That was probably a little bit of a line that we probably
that's
shouldn't
why.
have crossed.
That's why they claim that they're banned from being on the show, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which they are not.
No, and Tim, keep me honest. Remind me later about the Extra Life thing for that. Sorry, speaking of.
Yeah.
Oh, we
And-
brought it up.
And then I didn't
Okay.
want to add for Adam. How do I spell your name wrong in the notes? I don't know, but
Adon.
Don. But yeah, so I did talk to your brother about maybe sharing some bunk space if we do E3. If you all go to E3 and we all go to E3, so let's get that conversation going again.
Oh, please,
Yeah,
Jesse
if
and
you
the
do
Mega
that,
Dads at
like,
E3.
it needs to be
eating
a video
artisanal sandwiches.
series. It needs to be a video series called Eric Eats Artisanal Sandwiches.
Oh my gosh, how amazing would that be?
There you go, because they don't know Jesse's name, and they still don't.
Twitter comment from Adam Land says, I just want to congratulate you guys on 250th show. I listen to it generally on Friday mornings UK time. It keeps me occupied while I'm drudging through the streets delivering mail. He's his postman, regardless of whatever weather comes my way. Never leave me. Adam, well done, sir, because you have to tackle that weather over in the UK, and that is atrocious most of the time. So congratulations and thank you very much.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jody Masson. That
Who's
name
she?
Who
sounds
is that?
familiar. Whose comment was, shout out to the wives of the Nintendo dads for supporting their project for the last 5 years.
I can agree
I think
more.
we would all probably agree that it is the women behind us that actually truly make us as great as we are.
Yep.
I had
and
asked-
support-
I had asked my wife if she had any messages she wanted to give, and after talking with her about about who was all in the show, the only thing that she had to say was a message to Tim. If you have a son, don't name him Jack.
Yes, I've heard that growing up.
I'm sure you have.
Learned that a lot.
Oh, I just got
there it is. Yeah, okay. I like how
Yeah.
we're all like, oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
I stayed
Yep.
away from that name for a long time.
Question from the team over at Switch Island. I also want to say this very quickly. The folks over at Switch Island, Paul Lloyd, Barry Dunn, Jack, and our very own Gary Gray are at EGX this weekend over there, getting hands-on with fresh video games, one of the best conferences and our conventions in all of Europe. We're excited for them. Watch their conference, but of course we love these guys as well. They ask, 250s is a massive achievement. What advice would you give to a plucky young podcast to make sure they stay in it for the long haul like you guys? Big love to all of you from your pals across the pond. So first and foremost, Witch Island, get out of the game now.
Yes, I agree with that. 'Cause they're not that good.
Just
they're
get
not,
out.
They're not that good. So yeah, I
You
agree with
guys
that.
shouldn't be
completely.
there. I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's a dumpster fire. You should leave.
Yeah.
We're just
Fire
kidding.
Benji. Benji would be number 2. I would fire Benji. That'd be the second thing I would do. Yeah.
I think we've said it before. It is spreading work over people. It's running it like it's a small business. It's understanding what you want to do, setting your goals. It's building a community and a base, and just being humble that every opportunity, every win, just be thankful for everything again. I'm not saying that like you guys need to be thankful for what you get, but just like my statement here is the same I would say to my children as I would say to anyone. Be thankful, be kind, and be generous. Those are the things. Be thankful for everything that comes across your way. Be kind to every single person that you work with, and be generous with your time and your energy and your community. Those are the 3 things I would say if you want to be successful. That I hope that if we were to look back at Nintendo Dads, those are hopefully the 3 pillars that we stand on. And have we done well in all those all the time? No, but I think that in general, I think that's the way that we try to lead this initiative.
Can I add
and
one
I think-
word to that?
Sure.
Humility.
Sure. Yeah.
I would add to that too. Like I think it's like doing it for your own. Like I think that sometimes there's so much of like the I think we talked about before like the numbers and all of that stuff, and I think really doing it for your own reasons and doing it because you enjoy doing it. Because if you like you'd said earlier, Marty, like if you're doing it because you're having fun, that's what has kept this going a lot as well, where it's okay, well at least if this is, how do I make this fun for myself and enjoyable and fulfilling for me, whatever reason that is, and that's the reason to keep coming back and to keep doing it. And that's like, who cares, like if the audience will follow you, right? The people who that's going to resonate with, it's going to resonate with those people. And if it doesn't, and if you have to be somebody that you're not to get an audience, that's a losing game, and you're going to burn out, and it's not going to be fun, and people are going to know it, and so just have fun and stay connected to the whole purpose behind it. And that's
Yeah. Couple
And
more
hopefully
comments.
The community knows that too, that we're having fun with it, and we want to have fun with them.
That's exactly right, including the community in that fun.
Yes.
A couple more comments here. Megadad's blog says, congratulations to our friends, the Nintendo Dads. We've been on this journey together since just about the beginning, and we're proud to call you friends. Love it. Tech Mike says, your podcast is my favorite gaming podcast. Congrats on all the success, and I'm so hyped for this episode. Guys, just reading these comments and reading memories that you guys have had of the show, it's a little overwhelming. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, and now the screen is going to turn into a black hole and it just disappears, and that's the
For 2 days.
end, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last episode of Nintendo Dads.
Yeah.
Turn it right off.
Oh, I kind of wish we would have done that.
The thing is that
You're never here. Enough of you.
we were originally going to talk about what we've been playing this week, but we also have recorded a nigh on 2 hour and 30-minute episode at this point. And so I think that probably we can hold off on that till next week. Do you guys, is that okay with y'all?
I 100% agree.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we still got memories to go through.
Bobby is about to pass out, and like you're just going to see the chair tip over,
Yeah, it's gonna
legs
go
up in the air.
Just send us the bill for your coffee tomorrow morning. We'll pay that.
I could just go like this and then kind of like.
Yeah. There you go.
disappear.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked about Joker yet.
Yeah, go away. Get out of
That's
here.
in the After Dark episode afterward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think that
I still
just-
wanted to talk to you about Doki Doki Literature Club, but that never happened.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I think Marty, you're probably right, and that's probably a good spot to end it. So,
Yeah.
for
So,
those
guys-
of you that have been sat through this very long navel gazing podcast, thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone who's in the Twitch chat here, who watched us on YouTube and who tune in and subscribe, and thank you for. When we started this 5 years ago, we had no idea we would be here now, and that this would bloom into what it has. But we are thankful for every opportunity that has been provided to us by our fans, by our communities, by our family, by our friends, and we're just really humbled by it. And we thank you, and we just hope that you've enjoyed this journey with us as much as we've enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll stick through it with us, continuing to move forward.
Yeah, and
Bobby,
I
thank
would
you
just-
for coming on today, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
What I was going to say, Bobby's been a trooper. We want to thank you for getting a nap and hanging out late with us. And man, if you're needing folks to be on the show, you're looking at a whole group of them right here.
I
We
know that.
would
I
love
you
to
guys.
have. We would love to be over there again. And
Every
y'all
time
go check them out.
I ask Zach like he big times me and stiff arms me, or he doesn't show up on the time we're supposed to. So that's another thing.
Has that happened recently? I feel like you probably just haven't asked me recently because
I have a DM to you and you totally ignored me.
What is that a real thing?
That's
Uh-oh.
definitely a real thing.
Do you,
Hey,
do, you know,
Bobby-
do you know why we have to have production meetings when Zach's on?
Yeah.
Because that's when we can have production meetings when Zach is on.
Bobby, for people who may not know you and people who want to hear
Yeah.
more of you, please tell them where they can find you across all the internets.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for the opportunity, guys. I appreciate every single time you guys give me the platform to talk and do what I do. So thank you for that. But that aside, Instagram, Twitter, at Nintendo Gurus. Check out the If We Ran Nintendo podcast. I do it myself and Sean Capra. And basically NintendoGuru.com. That's it.
Awesome. So
And
y'all
hi
go
to
over
Toby,
there.
by the way.
Yeah, just like Toby. Toby, I love you, Toby. Come back to me, Toby.
Listen, you go over there and check out the Guru and all that he's got going on. Like live streaming games every day, right? Almost now.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm getting
Pretty
back
much,
into it. We're banging
doing
it out.
some great stuff over there. And so y'all check in on him. And Bobby, again, thanks for being on the show. So we're going to
Thank you.
close it out this way. We want to say huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Chris Mears and Dave Ernsberger. Tim, you're not a producer anymore. You're a cast member.
Yes.
There you
Got
go.
it.
But I mean,
Thank you
still
very
got-
much, by the way. If
still-
I didn't say it before, this is truly an honor. Thank you very
mean,
much.
We'll still take that.
You say that now, but now you're full time. You're actually going to start getting our emails and my messages to work, so you're not going to be.
One thing I do want to answer here before we spill up into our big spiel here at the end. Somebody asked how Killer Queen Black was. We played it right before the show and had a great time playing it after we figured out how to get everybody into the same game.
It only took a half an hour.
Yeah, it only took half an hour. It's not very intuitive for that, but otherwise, ton of fun. You don't have to be great at it to play and actually feel like you know what you're doing. And so all I will say is this is fear the mole.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I know I'm a lousy queen.
I actually just, I do want to, yeah, sure now. We've been telling
Know
that for a
your role.
while. I do
That
want to
sounds funny.
ask one last question, and I'm sorry that I know you're getting ready, Marty.
No, that's fine.
Jesse, we never really provided you much of an opportunity about your thoughts as an OG member for the last 5 years.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any?
Of course, me losing my headset for about 20 minutes, I probably lost
Sure.
several opportunities in there. But yeah, I just wanted to, when you two started talking back in Hortons about starting the show and needed a third chair, Zach goes, "Oh, I know a guy," and we met through Infendo. He was one of the hosts. I was a fan, and then I started writing for VG Tribune, which Alexis Santos, who was also part of Nintendo at the time, was the owner of that website at the time. And we started up the podcast, and then he stepped aside, and I took over as the main hosting. And then Zach was one of my frequent co-hosts that kind of rotated around. We called it the Round Table, and so we've been in contact over, off and on over the years from that. And when he said, "Hey, we're starting up another show, are you wanting in?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." and it's still fun. I'm still here.
Good. You're still enjoying it.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
That's
And-
awesome.
Yeah, man.
The man behind the controls.
Yep, the technical
Yeah.
backbone of this podcast.
Yes.
I just hope everything continued to work. Even though I couldn't hear anything, I think everyone else could still hear everything.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Thank you for that work, Jesse. You're a master.
Jesse's the man
We'll
in the
find
chair.
out on the other side. Well, guys, again, thanks to Chris Mears and Dave Ernsberger, who are our Patreon producers, and thanks to each and every one of you over at Discord for all of the ways that you support us. And if you're not a Discord supporter or Patreon supporter right now, why don't you hop over to patreon.com/Nintendo Dads and join in for just $1 a month. As Zach Erickson always says, for $1 a month, you can change the world.
Yeah,
You can literally change the world over there at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads. And we've got a website now too, nintendodads.org, for all of our social media feeds, our videos, our podcast episodes, merch page, and link to our Patreon as well over there at nintendodads.org. And you can find us on all those socials like Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. Just type in Nintendo Dads and boom, there we are. Email us at nintendodads@gmail.com or podcast@nintendodads.org, or call in like those brave souls this week and leave a voicemail at 929-25-NDADS. That's 929-256-3237. I want to say a big thanks to OC Remix for the music used throughout the show, and Adam Leonard and Carter Johnson for all the sweet artwork they've done for us over the years. Guys, for me, for Zach, for Justin, for Jesse, for Tim, for Guru, and for the American Dream, baby. This has been episode 250 of the Nintendo Dads podcast. Ric Flair, I'm coming down there to Atlanta to get my title back. Episode 251, I'm coming, baby. Here we go. Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening into Nintendo Dads.
American Dream.
Woo!
Oh my gosh.